All right. So I know we usually do spiritual talk today. We talk about Atlantis, we talk about Mu, we talk about all of those things. Um, but I'm coming up on my 14 weeks, meaning like it usually takes me 14 weeks before I start to burn out. This is going to be week 13. So next week I will be able to push through. However, after that, I'm going to need a break. So what I'm going to do, Carla, what's going on? Like, stop putting that in my comments, please. Um, so normally it usually takes me about 14 weeks before I burn out. And so since I'm coming up on the 14 weeks, okay, I'm just gonna block you, love. I don't know what you're talking about, but you're a distraction. 14 weeks. Why is mine's in 2 days? Yeah, I feel like 14 weeks I tend to burn out in general. And what'll happen is I'll either disappear or something like that. So just to kind of avoid that altogether, what I'm going to do is take a break for a while with the spiritual talk, meaning like I'm still going to come over on every single Wednesday and do the spiritual talk, but it's not going to be teaching in the way that I've been teaching, meaning like I'm going to just either do readings or something like that, just so that I can take a little break from the teaching part of it. And then we'll start the Earth Spiral series, which is basically what we need to do going forward. Today, what we're going to talk about is I'm going to clear something up from the last episode that I got a lot of questions on. And then we're going to talk about what it looks like to move back towards remembrance. We'll talk about Oversoul Embodiment, the path of embodiment, preparation for embodiment. We'll talk about sacred grief, rage, stillness, and neutrality, common misconceptions around embodiment, and then what we need to understand moving forward. So that's what our session today is really going to be about. Hold on, let me turn the light up on my. Okay, there we go. So that's what our session today is really going to be about. And then we'll take a break, meaning like I won't be teaching for the next couple of weeks, but we'll still hop on. Hey, Brianna. We'll still hop on. We'll still, talk about spiritual concepts. I might do spiritual readings and stuff because my deck is supposed to be here next week, which I'm excited about. Um, you're welcome, love. I'm happy to hear that. So my deck will be here next week. So we might do some like free readings and stuff like that during our little spiritual talks, or just like, talk about whatever we want to talk about. Maybe revisit the series, the things that y'all liked about it, maybe call some people up and talk about some of the things y'all want to talk about, just to give me a little break from teaching. And then we'll start the earth spiral. Okay. So yeah, so I'm excited for what's to come. I really love doing this series on Atlantis and Mu because I feel like there was a lot of information that we just did not understand or that we have not been taught. And so it's really great to put it in a format and to put it in something that's consolidated as a playlist to where people can go back and watch it as much as they possibly can, or as much as they want to. So I really did enjoy doing this series, but we'll start the next part of this once I take me a little breaky break. So today we're going to talk about actually, I already talked about what we're going to talk about. Let me start with last time. Hey, Nay. So last time I talked about myself as Ma'arani, and I talked about my original core signature, Say El Una Ethereal, right? And I was trying to explain to y'all that I kept seeing myself as a mirror in the middle and the other emanations around me, meaning that there are 7 Serai flames that have incarnated here on Earth right now. 2 of them are dormant. But when I see us, I see a mirror in the middle, which is me. I'm the mirror in the middle. But then I see the 7 emanations. And I got a lot of questions about that. Like, oh, are you guys all working together? Like that type of thing. Have you met anything like that? And yet last session, I was trying to explain to y'all what I meant by that. So today I'm going to explain that. And then we're going to jump into like what we got to talk about today. Okay. So in this incarnation, my oversoul embodiment and the mirror flame emanation that I am is Ma'arani. Okay, this is one of the Serai flames, one of the emanations. But my original soul tone is, which is my core harmonic signature, is the origin of my oversoul, is the Say El Una Ethereal. Okay, so I'm both of those things. Now, because Ma'arani is my active role, while Say El Una Ethereal is my oversoul role. What you need to understand about that is that Say El Unatherial, the oversoul role that I was telling y'all about last time, who I was in Lyra, is not a single being. It's like a personality in a way. It's a core oversoul harmonic from which all seven Serai flame emanations fractaled from. So she is the first light of the Serai, the flame matrix of unfractured oversoul presence, and the harmonic root signature from which the others emerged. Okay, so right now when I remember that, I'm remember my source tone in my first oversoul song before it was fractalated. Okay, so Ma'arna is my current embodiment emanation, meaning like back in Lyra, it was a place for oversouls to embody still whole, whereas here on Earth, oversouls embody fractaled. Okay, so Ma'arna is my current embodied emanation, and this is the flame expression that I hold as a mirror between timelines, truths, races, classes, and soul fragments. It's like a station of the Serai flame, born of the Say El Unatherials splintering into Earth's time. Okay, so Ma'arna carries Say El Unatherials central mirror coding, which means that I am her in time and voice and in flesh, but she is also beyond me as well, meaning that she's holding the full oversoul field. Okay, so I want y'all to think of it like this: is Say El Unatherial is the sun, and then the Serai flames are emanations, right? But me as Ma'arna, I am the ray that carries the original tone most purely. Okay, so I'm like, and the reason why there needs to be an emanation that carries that original tone is because you need to be able to remember it from inside of you. Okay, so I am in this emanation Ma'arna, but the Say El Unatherial is the flame within Ma'arna that glows undistorted. So my energy is kind of like a bridge, even between emanations. All right. So it's actually really rare for a flame bearer to embody both the Serai flame emanation and the original source tone. But the reason why I do is because that's something that I chose before I got here, meaning that because I'm the mirror flame, and I'm here to mirror back to people their lineages, I have to remember what the original was. Okay. Um, so this is kind of why my voice, my spine, my memories have been under such pressure. And what I mean by that is I feel a lot of tension in my throat, a lot of tension in my spine. Um, and I have been in these last couple of weeks, and I've been doing like a lot of energy work and stuff to try to clear it or whatever. But it's because I'm anchoring in the flame and the source it came from. So, more of the story is that I'm both of those things. Okay. Okay. So what do we need to kind of understand in order for us to continue moving towards remembrance? Okay. The first thing that remembrance is not mental, is embodied realignment. And the reason why we need to talk about that is because just made a video yesterday about somebody who was talking about, sometimes people repeat the patterns of their parents because they understand something on the intellectual level, but they don't understand something on a spiritual level, right? And I had made a video about it because I feel like even within, we have only ever been taught to look at things from a mental perspective. And the mental perspective is what pushes you towards perfection, right? It pushes you towards performance. It pushes you to um, look for the logic and look for the proof in everything, right? Because the mental perspective is logic analysis. It's putting things into form, it's saying everything has a place, right? Nothing is fluid when it comes to the mental perspective. But when you look at spirit through the lens of your mental side, it's you're 10% trying to perceive your 90%. It doesn't work like that, right? So what we have to understand is that you have to get your body involved, and your body only gets involved through emotion. Okay, you have to feel it. So remembrance is not something you can think your way through. It's not something that you need to perform your way through. So you're not going to remember by trying to study or trying to repeat the same patterns. You remember through energetic congruence, which is when your body, your heart, your voice, and your field begin to vibrate with the same tone of your oversoul. So if your body is not involved, you're not remembering, you're just mimicking. It's like spiritual bypassing. You just see what you see what other people are doing, and you're just copying that. Okay. If the body is not involved, you are mimicking. Okay. So you feel this as like a moment of stillness that just kind of feels sacred. You feel this as like a voice that speaks from outside of you, a decision that comes from knowing and not fear, meaning like you don't need proof of this thing. You feel it in your bones and you trust it, right? And then also a wordless clarity that rewires your field. It's like you just get it one day, okay? The second thing is you do not need to prove or perform your divinity, meaning that so many of us get caught up in the subtle distortion of things. We think that we need to prove that we are awake, right? And we need to offer ourselves or our service constantly or perform our light for validation. And what I mean by that is like being in a spiritual space, I feel like I'm so different than other creators when it comes to being in a spiritual space because I don't have something profound to say every single day. Like I think people get stuck in the performance of things because we live in a society that's based off of performance. And so they feel like, well, I need to chuck out 4 pieces of content a day and I need to do this, I need to do that. But the thing about it is that um that's you living out of your mind and not your body, right? For me, I feel called to say something, and I feel like when spirit moves, started trying to pressure myself to make a post every single day, I would lose the quality of what it is that I'm saying, And so the second thing that you really got to understand is this is not a performance, even though we come up through performance society. A lot of us are always trying to perform something. We feel like we need to achieve something. We need to produce something at all times, like a factory, and we're not a factory, It's the trauma of masquerading. I mean, it's the masquerading your trauma as your purpose. People who feel like, oh, I've been through trauma. I want to help people heal, right? And so you think you got to keep doing more and doing more, and that's not how you actually achieve that. Oversoul doesn't operate in performance; it radiates, right? Your beingness is enough. Your presence actually does the work for you. You don't have to even open your mouth and say anything. So letting your offers come from overflow instead of from compensation, because you're trying to prove that you're needed. You're trying to prove that you're valuable because all these people are looking to you for advice. I think that's a huge thing that happens with social media is that somebody will get online and they'll say an opinion and a whole bunch of people agree with them. So then they think that their opinion is always right. Their opinion is always justified. And then they spend the rest of their, content career just pumping out a bunch of opinions, and it doesn't land the same way because the initial one came from heart. It didn't come from a motive. It didn't come from performance. It's almost like a comedian who says something funny and feels like now he always got to be funny, putting yourself in these boxes. Okay. The second one is sacred neutrality. And we're going to talk about this deeper, but sacred neutrality is the new ground of power, meaning that you're no longer meant to fight for the light. Like there's no fight to be had, right? You're not a spiral in the darkness. What this path is really teaching you is that you're not here to side with polarity. You're here to transmute it through your presence, which means sacred neutrality is so important. And that is not passivity. Okay. I had somebody tag me in something earlier, which was like some type of new bill that the government was coming out with that's supposed to be worse than Project 25. And I think what we don't understand is that we are so fucking reactive to everything. And anytime you take an action or you react to something, you are choosing that timeline. So you cannot be the type of person who base your life on fear, because if you do that and you react to everything, you're choosing it. Sometimes you are just meant to witness stuff. Sometimes you are just meant to observe stuff. We were never supposed to have access to media and world news on this scale, right? Because it traumatizes us, right? So we need to bring back sacred neutrality. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit deeper today, and also talk about stillness, because I feel like there's parts of that we don't fully understand. But I think that when we're neutral in a situation, we feel like we are being passive because, in our specific culture and environment, we're always told, well, you sitting on the fence. You need to pick one side. You need to either be with me or be with them, right? And that is divisive. That's division. That's polarity consciousness. There's only one truth. There can't be multiple truths at one time. And if you don't pick a side, then you play in the field. Then you're a people pleaser. Then you all of those things. So I kind of want to talk about that a little bit deeper today, because neutrality is a gift. My energy is the energy of neutrality. You don't have to have an opinion on everything. You don't have to always be choosing one thing or the other, because again, everything appears on a spectrum. So there has to be some space for nuance. There has to be some space for that gray area. Okay. So, neutrality is actually an unshakable state from which all truth, boundaries, and creations become clean. Okay. We also need to learn how to stabilize in the unknown because, again, we live in a society that has conditioned us towards living out of our mind. And our mind is where science comes from, right? Science says you got to prove everything, you know? Um, Not only that, we're pushed towards predictability and we're pushed towards a rational way of thinking, right? Which means that we're very strategic. We need to know what the plan is, what the next steps are, what those steps are going to get us. We need the data, all of those things. But remembrance doesn't come that way. Actually, that way of thinking so linearly like that, is what keeps people stuck. Because people think if they make the wrong move, then they're not going to get the results that they're looking for, so they make no move at all. Okay, this path of remembrance requires you to walk the path without a map. You just have to trust yourself, and that's how you know you and your body, because your mind is what tries to figure things out, because it puts things into form. Your mind is the planner, right? Your mind is what's trying to figure things out, but your body already knows what the truth is. So in order for you to learn to trust your body, you actually have to move even when you're uncertain, right? You have to move even when you don't have the path. And then through you actually taking action is when you open up the timelines, right? So you open up a timeline when you make the choices, which is the actions, and then the clarity comes, right? So this path of remembrance is about you walking without a map. You know, if you wait for full clarity, you delay your process of becoming. You delay not only your awakening, but the awakening of the people who you came here to awaken, because many of us came here to awaken each other. So you not only delay your process, but then you delay the process of other people. Okay. Your stomach always knows first. It's your first line of defense. That's why in human design, I talk about your digestive system, because you need to know how your body digests food, because it's not only responsible for digesting food, it's covered in cilia, it's covered in hair. It is a receptor, right? So instead, you will have to learn to trust the energetic field first and then move. Move when your field says yes, not when the system says that you're ready. You always know that something is in distortion if it's constantly urging you towards something. Like you need to do something, you need to make a decision, you need to make a decision fast. Your body don't move fast. You sit in stillness, you wait until your field agrees, and then you move. You know, it's almost like when your friend call you on the phone, like, oh my gosh, can you go with me to this thing? And your body is like, I really don't want to go to this thing. So you tell your friend no, and then they guilt trip you. Well, I don't have nobody to go with me. Like, please go with me. Like, I always go to stuff with you. And then you're just like, okay, fine. Yes, I'll go. Right? It's rushing you. It's rushing you. And now you go into that space, and it turns out you didn't want to go in the first place. The whole time you're there, you're miserable. Like, that's some of the points in life or applicable situations where we feel urgency happening or distortion happening, and our field disagrees with that. Okay. So the next thing you need to understand is that your voice is the gate. Okay. It's not a tool. Your voice is the gate. All right. So your voice literally and energetically is not just expression. It's the gate of harmonic code release. You are releasing light codes. Remember, I told you singing is not just for entertainment. It is light codes are being activated. Okay. It breaks seals, it reopens soul contracts, and it transmits ancient tones. Okay. It alters timelines. So you have to claim your voice without shame. Say it scared, say it loud, say it screaming, but you have to speak as somebody who remembers the sound of your own being, meaning that you got to speak your fucking truth regardless of who is going to feel you. You know, even when it doesn't land in the field of other people, you have to still speak your truth. You know, you don't need people to agree with you. And even if you've been stuck in a pattern of people pleasing, you know, say it scared. Say it scared. Okay. What we got to understand is we are actually in the process in these next 8 years of reseeding Earth to be more soul-based, a soul-based system instead of a mental-based system. Okay. So we're no longer going to be participating in distortion templates of linear business, you know, those transactional things, extraction-based offerings as well, spiritual saviorism. And what I mean by that is so many people are still looking for a savior. Yes, you may have left the church. Yes, you may have gone in a different direction, but you're still looking for somebody outside of you to save you. And I cannot tell you how many times, hold on, y'all. Let me just go ahead and clear this space real quick, because as soon as I started doing this live, I started getting agitated. And now I keep coughing. Hold on. Okay. All right. Sorry, y'all. But spiritual saviorism, I get so many people who send me emails all the time who are just like, at this point, I've tried everything. I'm broke. I don't have no money. I this, I that, and I just need some help. Like, can you please tell me what's going on? Can you do a reading for me? Can you do this? Can you do that? And people who are not in their power, or people who are doing this because they're still trying to prove that, they have a gift, they would fall for that. They would fall for that every single time, because they're still trying to save people. But somebody who has become a steward of their practice understands that if you are coming to me looking for me to help you, that means you are not helping yourself. And I hate to say it this way, because I think we are so emotionally fragile as a society, meaning that we struggle when people speak truth to us directly. We fucking struggle with that. It's so hard for us to accept that. It's so hard for us to see that as assistance, see it that as compassion, because we're so used to people saying stuff to us softly. We're so used to people jumping in and saving us so much so that we feel entitled to it, because we've been conditioned through society that somebody outside of you is going to come and save you. And so when I look at stuff like that, it's not frustrating, because I understand. I have compassion for the people, because I've been there. I've been where they are. But I also don't jump in and just save people, because I am not. There's nobody outside of you that can save you until you start doing stuff differently. There's nobody who is going to come in on a cape and save you. You coming to me and telling me you're at your last, you need my help, you don't have nothing to offer, you just want me to extend energy in your direction, right? What that tells me is that you need to choose you. You don't need me to choose you. You don't need me to jump in and save you. You need you to jump in and save you. Okay? And I get people who comment all the time, like, if you had a church, I would join. If you had this, I would do. And what you got to understand is you don't need another savior. You don't need another person outside of yourself. You need you. You need you. And I feel like sometimes when I get messages like that, I do want to help. But if I jump in and save you, then you're going to constantly go outside of yourself for help. You're constantly going to go outside of yourself for help. And sometimes stewardship is just sitting there and witnessing with people. So there's so many of us who are still, we feel entitled to other people's help. And when we don't get it, we feel some type of way about it. But in reality, nobody is coming to save you but you. And so many of us are still stuck in that. And that caused the wound. We have a betrayal wound when it comes to God, because we like, if God knows everything, then why is he letting us go through this stuff? Right? But then we taught that something outside of us is going to save us. So that's what a lot of us are looking for. So that's what I mean by spiritual saviorism, is that a lot of us have left the church, but we still looking for a savior, just in a different font. Okay. And then identity-based healing. You got to understand that your identity is fluid. You should not be stuck in one concept of who you are. Who you are should constantly be evolving and moving and growing. Right. And so many of us will base our identity on certain things. Like, I don't know, let's just say that you're a churchgoer, right? And you base your entire identity off of being a churchgoer. And then you meet somebody and they tell you that they learned all this stuff about the Bible, and they show you all the resources, and all of a sudden you start feeling different, right? And now, because you start feeling different, you do your own research and you realize that everything that you base your identity off was a lie. Well, it crushes your entire identity. You go through an identity crisis, you go through depression, you go through all of these things. And it's because you've tied your identity to something outside of yourself. Your identity should be fluid. You should be allowed to grow and evolve and change. But again, since we live in a society that's constantly pushing us towards predictability, a lot of us are uncomfortable with that. Okay. Right now, what we're creating is soul economies. All of your pricing needs to be energetic pricing, meaning like if you're doing this type of work, you need to understand that money is an energy exchange, so you need to price your pricing according to that. Okay. Because I think what I find a lot of times with people who do this type of work is they don't want to charge, which is something I struggle with a lot. However, there needs to be some type of energy exchange. Otherwise, you just have a bunch of cords attached to you that are like, draining you. And then flame-based stewardship, meaning that, again, you are there to witness with people, but you are not a savior. And so you cannot have your cape on, try to jump in and save everybody, because it just drains you. Sometimes you just need to witness with other people, and then temple of remembrance, meaning we need to build temples of remembrance, not just temples for healing, which is something that we've done together over these last 12 weeks talking about Atlantis. Okay. And then the last thing you need to really understand is that there are going to be people who resist as you rise. Okay. One thing that I want to urge us to do is to stay compassionate. Okay. And what I mean by that is not everybody is going to want to leave this echo of suffering. Not everybody is going to want to heal. Not everybody is going to want to step out into the unknown, because if you think about it, again, we've been conditioned since we were 5 years old to stay the same. It is really fucking hard for people to look in their mirror and decide that they want to be different, and as a person who has been there, as a person who's been skeptical, as a person who didn't really understand my gifts until like 4 years ago, as a person who thought that I was right and lived in polarity consciousness, you got to remember what that's like. You think that you're right and everybody else is wrong. You have to remember what that's like. So it's really important that you understand, yes, people are going to project on you. Yes, people are going to misunderstand you, but it's not your task to convince them. It's your task to remain rooted in that neutrality. When people attack me, which happens quite often, by the way, when people attack me, I just block them. Just block them. Move on with your day. If they don't get it, they're not ready for what you're sharing, and that's okay. Go ahead and get them out of their misery. I block them all the time. And the reason why I block them is because you're not ready for what I'm saying. So this is not going to be your first attack. I feel like that's how the haters start, is because you give them too much rope, and you let them stay around when you know that they're not ready to receive what you have to say. So I just block them, and so that I can remain rooted and I don't have to keep seeing it, but you don't also have to keep seeing me trigger you. When you come around, right? So you got to understand, again, you are not here to save, and you are not here to be a signal for other people. So walk in grace, even if it's unseen by other people. Speak your truth, even if it's unheard. Sometimes the resonance doesn't match right now, but it will. Sometimes having awareness of something is enough to spark you down that trail. So those who are ready to remember are going to feel your truth. Okay. I'm not doing readings today, y'all. I forgot to change the title, but I'm not doing readings. We're talking spiritual talk right now. Okay. So those are the main things that we got to remember on our path towards remembrance. I got some groceries coming, y'all, so I might have to pause for a second to go grab my groceries, because they were supposed to be here over an hour ago, which is fucking insane, because the grocery store is 2 minutes away from me. But anywho, which don't make it no better, because I could have just got my ass in the car. But anyway. Okay. So what we're moving towards on this path to remembrance, or the goal on the path to remembrance, is Oversoul Embodiment. Okay. And Oversoul Embodiment is the living return of truth to form, meaning that you are embodying truth in this physical reality. So it's a reunion of who you are eternally with who you've temporarily become in this incarnation, because this is a temporary environment, right? So it's not simply about ascension or healing or even awakening. It's about reintegrating the divine identity, your divine identity, through your body. Okay. So let's talk about why Oversoul Embodiment is important. The first part of this is that it ends the separation loop, where we live in polarity consciousness. We're viewing everything as separate, right? Most of humanity has lived fragmented. Okay. Which means that their soul is up here and a body down there. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a disconnection in between the soul and the body. right? Because especially if you've been living out of your mind, right? If you've been living out of your mind, you're not feeling your feelings, especially in a society that tells women that they're too sensitive, so they shouldn't feel so much. And they tell men that if they feel too much, they're weak, right? They cut off your access to the soul energy. So we seek messages from above, forgetting that the divine lives within us. The guidance is the emotions. Emotions help you provide understanding to your experience. It's literally your soul communicating to you across the waters in your body. God moved across the waters. Okay. Oversoul embodiment dissolves vertical hierarchy, which is king, queen, you know, down, down, down. It brings you your eternal self into your living breath, into your daily actions, into your voice, into your relationships, into your decisions, meaning like you're not practicing something, you have embodied something, you have become something. And in the word embodiment is the word body, meaning you have to be in your body. Your mind is your worst enemy. You have to be in your body. Your mind is the matrix. You have to be in your body. You have to feel your feelings, which means you probably gonna have to do a little healing, right? So without embodiment, the oversoul is just a theory. With embodiment, the oversoul is your actual expression, okay? So the oversoul, the second thing is that it heals the flame fractures. So your oversoul holds the original flame codes before distortion, meaning like your blueprint before you started experiencing fear and control and all of these things that have traumatized you. Your oversoul holds the original tone. Okay, so when you embody it, you stop reenacting trauma loops. You stop being stuck in that state of confusion because you're trying to figure something out with your mind. Instead, you say, I don't necessarily need to figure out what happened or why. I just need to figure out how it made me feel. If it made me feel good, move towards it. If it made me feel bad, move away from it. You don't have to sit there and try to figure out why people behave the way that they behave, because you're not thinking about it from a logical standpoint. You're thinking about like, that didn't make me feel good. I don't like that. I ain't doing that. Right? Lineage distortions as well. Distortions within your timelines, and also, being told that you were a slave and you've been nothing more than a slave, erasing 200,000 plus years where you were free. Right? When you embody the karmic compensation, karma is a thing of separation. Karma don't exist. Karma don't exist when you're in the highest version of yourself. When you're fully embodied, karma does not exist. And you also not seeking an identity, right? Because identities are the problem. Our identity is what keeps you stuck in specific thought frames, right? I got to be the nice girl, right? So that means anytime you're not being nice, you feel like you failed yourself or you feel like you're doing something wrong, right? I got to be the good girl. Well, I'm a girl, I can't do this. Boys do that. When you put yourself in those boxes, when you put yourself in those boxes, you don't allow yourself to be more than just one thing or the other, right? There's only one truth that exists for you, instead of realizing that things just appear on a spectrum and that you're supposed to be fluid. And if you realize that you were supposed to be fluid, you would give yourself a lot more grace, right? You can show up more authentically instead of trying to show up perfect. Okay. So you stop identifying as something that you must fix as well. Because when you stuck in an identity, if you don't meet the requirements of that identity, you're constantly going to think something is wrong with you or that you're broken. You're constantly going to try to fix yourself, right? You're going to constantly try to fix yourself, make yourself better, all of those things. And you actually begin to radiate the frequency that resolves all of that. Okay. You become the remembrance itself, which is who you are, which is perfectly imperfect, Next, you also anchor the new earth template. The new earth frequency is not a location or a future timeline. It's a harmonic anchored through the oversoul embodied being, meaning you must embody your oversoul. When you embody your oversoul, you gain access to a harmonic frequency that you are now anchoring into earth's reality. New earth frequency don't happen unless you have embodied your being. Okay. So the new earth template, you are one of them when you embody the frequency. Okay. So by walking as your oversoul, you update the planetary grid with stable and loving codes. You create sovereign pathways for others to remember. You become a living flame temple You don't need to preach, you just exist fully, which means that you've reached a different resonance. And through you reaching that resonance, Earth is responding to you because Earth remembers you. Even when you don't remember you, Earth remembers you. Okay? Sorry, y'all, my groceries is coming. When they come, I'm gonna have to dip out for just a brief second just to grab them and bring them in the house so don't nobody steal my food. This is really just a watermelon and a pineapple and some hot Cheeto puffs. Listen, it doesn't matter. All right. So, and then another thing that ends is this dependency on external authority, which is what I've been talking about this whole time. Okay. The dependency on external authority. When you embody your oversoul, you no longer chase psychics or gurus or oracles for truth. You are the truth. You no longer use tools to compensate for inner disconnection. And I'm gonna talk about that in our Earth Spiral episode. We're gonna talk about your higher self versus oversoul and dependency that we have in that. When we talk about the Earth Spiral and stuff like that, which is gonna be this new series once I take a break and all those such things. We're going to talk about that because, tarot is really good for building your intuition, but a lot of us become too dependent. We need to bring back balance, baby. We need to bring back balance, And so a lot of us are disconnected from ourselves. And because we disconnected from ourselves, we need somebody who is connected to themselves to give us answers when we could just sit with ourselves, when we literally just could get back into connection with ourselves, and you're also going to no longer fear being wrong. Okay. When you're misaligned and when you need to realign with grace, right? So you become the source that you are constantly seeking in environments. All right. Now, what happens when you embody the oversoul is that you might still be spiritual and intuitive and gifted, but hold on. Okay, sorry. What happens when you don't embody your oversoul? When you don't embody your oversoul, you may repeat patterns that don't belong to this lifetime, meaning like past life patterns, which I told y'all I was scared of sharks. I was scared of heights. And that was because I died in the last lifetime in a body of water with my family. I had a client who didn't want to have kids in this lifetime, and she keeps repeating that, and it's because she watched her kid pass away in a past lifetime. Like, you keep being stuck in those repeated patterns. Like, your past lives are influencing the current version of yourself. Your oversoul is what encompasses and holds all of those past lives. So in order for you to heal it, you got to get into your oversoul so you can feel it and you can release it. Okay. You might feel empty even when other people are helping you. You'll doubt yourself even while others see your power. You may feel fear of collapse, judgment, exposure, or getting it wrong because your truth isn't rooted in your current body. It's still floating somewhere above you, right? So in oversoul embodiment, your voice becomes clear. Your energy field becomes undistorted. Your decisions become whole-bodied. Your offerings become clean and coded, and your presence becomes a remembering for other people. So it's the return of sovereignty, not just spiritually, but structurally. We're going to have to restructure this whole thing, okay? So let's talk about that path back towards embodiment. Let me move this over here. I'm trying to figure out what the hell taking her so damn long. I need to just go down here and get these damn groceries. Sorry, y'all. All right. So the path of embodiment is not just a destination. It's a sacred spiral. And it's a living remembrance of what you've always been, being brought fully back into the body, the voice, the choice, and the field. It is the movement from holding truth in glimpses to becoming the embodied truth that reshapes the world. So there's kind of 7 stages in this. The first one is the spark of awakening. And if you have been keeping up with my tarot deck or the Oversoul Codex that I have created, the first card is the spark of awakening, right? Because that Oversoul Codex is supposed to help you to understand what you need to do on the path towards remembrance. So you can pull cards for yourself every single day. I would pull 1 card. That's what you need to work on for that day. You can pull a 3-card pull, which is past, current, and what you're working towards. Or you can do a full reading for yourself. But that's for you to stop depending on external people and depend on your own intuition. Okay. And it's not for you to use forever. It's only until you can get far enough on your journey to stand on your own 2 feet. Okay, the first card is the spark of awakening, and this is the sacred discomfort phase. This is where you start to realize that your reality no longer fits. The relationships, the belief systems, the identities, they begin to crack right in front of you, and you're questioning everything. Synchronicities and deja vu kind of intensify during this. You feel disorientation, yet lit from within. What you're saying to yourself is that there's something more. Okay, there's something more that I'm not getting. There's something more that I need to explore. Okay. Then you enter into the stage of disintegration, which is the old programs, the soul contracts, and the distorted self-concept begin to dissolve. Okay, this can feel like a breakdown. It can feel like everything is really it can feel like a breakdown or a tower moment or an ego death or like something like that, but really you're just being recalibrated. Okay. Um, this is where the shadow work tends to intensify, where identity structures collapse, where your nervous system begins to return to truth. So basically what you're saying to yourself in this phase is I no longer belong where I have once conformed. Like whatever I've been doing that was comfortable, that's not working for me no more. Okay. Then you enter into the third phase, which is the mirror phase. And the mirror phase is when you begin to attract mirror beings, clients, mentors, and experiences who reflect aspects of your oversoul, even when you don't recognize yourself in them yet. Okay. This is the stage where you are initiated into your soul group gifts through other people. For me, I went to a psychic and she told me I was a medium, and I literally was just like, girl. Anyways, what them spirits saying? I was like, yeah, girl. Anyways, so yeah, your capacity for reflection becomes a tool for healing, meaning like that you start to see the wisdom and everything and the beauty in your experiences, and through you seeing the beauty in those experiences, because you're seeing it reflected in other people or seeing parts of you reflected in other people, you start to have more compassion. Okay. And you begin to feel the flame lineages start to activate, which is your presence starts to awake to other people, but also you start to realize that you could be somebody who has an impact, right? And the next is the descent of light. This is the oversoul beginning to anchor into your body, not as a concept, but as a current. Okay. This phase can feel overwhelming as your body, your voice, and your systems restructure to hold higher bandwidth. So a lot of times you'll get kundalini surges, which is that energy going up and down your spine, or a lot of pressure on your spine, or your back start hurting, things like that. Sometimes light languages emerge or harmonic codes emerge. You may begin receiving downloads of your role, of cities, of soul architecture, and you might rest deeply or digest what is being remembered. This is where you say to yourself that you're not channeling your oversoul. This is when you're actually becoming it. That's a lot, because when you get into this descent of light, you also enter into like this cocoon energy, meaning like nothing is happening. Like you're not getting the thousand visions. You're not getting, it's almost like you're waiting for something to happen. And because we live in a society that's constantly pushing us towards going, sometimes that can be a lot, meaning that you waiting for something to happen and you might feel like kind of abandoned in this phase as well. So there's what's happening is your energy is integrating. And so you have to be okay with stillness. You have to be okay with nothing happening, and that understanding that your nervous system is, restructuring itself, your brain is restructuring itself, and you are being formed. But I found this really hard when I was in this phase. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Okay. Hold on, y'all. I need to go get my groceries real quick. Give me 1 second. Well, shit, I don't know how to pause this, so I'll be back, y'all. 1 second. Sorry, y'all. I didn't want y'all to have to see all this ass. So, 1 second. Hold on. Let me catch my breath. Whew. I got 2 flights of stairs in my house, and I regret that every single motherfucking day. Okay. Okay. I'm trying. I'm finding it. 1 second. Woo! And to think I'm still a person who works out, I don't understand. All right. Back to what I was saying. Okay. So the next stage is the field of coherence. Nope. I really want to go cut that watermelon up, but I've been obsessed with watermelon, y'all. I can't get enough of it. Hold on, y'all. So many stairs. So many stairs. All right, so the field of coherence is what's next. And when you're in this stage, you're now embodying your oversoul in a stable way. So your energy field no longer collapses under projection or other people's expectations. Now, this is where the real sovereignty and liberation start. Because when you get in coherence with yourself, you no longer really care about how you're being perceived by everybody else, or whether people agree with you, whether people picking up what you're putting down, all of the things. Hey, Kay. You actually begin to transmit your energy instead of just explaining. Okay. So you attract soul aligned offerings without force. You know when to speak and when to be silent, and you stop outsourcing your knowing to teachers or systems. Okay. This is where your body becomes your temple and your field is the transmission. Okay. You have embodied the thing by you just living as you live. You are transmitting a signal to other people. Then next is the crystalline build. Now, this is where you begin to weave the new structure in the world. It's not from ego, but it's from Oversoul Directive. So this can look like you creating soul-based economies, which is something I'm creating right now. I'm redoing all of my services. Every single one of them is going to have to do with oversoul and embodiment and everything like that. So I'm in the process of redoing them all together. So that's what I mean by soul-based economy. Also, I'm going to start offering mirror circles, which is a bunch of us getting together on specific energy points, meaning like astrological events, and doing collective work when it comes to grief and releasing that, which I'm really excited about that. So I'm gonna start offering that, flame readings, and then human design is gonna turn more into an oversoul reading because I'm soul encoding it right now. I'm redoing astrology, all of those things. So you create soul-based economies is basically what I'm saying. We're guiding other people. You start guiding other people through remembrance, which is something I'm doing right now. And then designing systems, sanctuaries, and soul offerings encoded with frequency and function, which is that whole redoing of the services thing that I was just talking about. Okay. So you no longer heal. You are here to harmonize. Okay. You want to harmonize people. And then the last thing is that you become the living flame. You no longer need to try to be who you are. Your presence shifts timelines, opens vaults, and emits harmonic codes simply by being witnessed by other people. This phase is often quiet, yes, yet immensely powerful. Hey, Jayla. You walk as a mirror, as a temple, as a tone. So this is where you say, I am the echo in the origin. Okay. So remembering an oversoul embodiment is different than ascension. And I think we've constantly been taught through these spiritual systems that ascension is the goal, right? But embodiment is different than ascension. With ascension, you're leaving and vibrating out of this reality, right? Whereas embodiment is you're bringing the truth into this reality. Okay. So a lot of y'all are here to embody, not ascend, which is something that was news to me. Okay. So what makes this different than ascending is that it's not about rising up. It's about returning inwards. It's not about escaping form. It's about transfiguring it. It's not about seeking light, but becoming so whole that your light emanates without effort, meaning you don't got to do nothing. You just got to exist, anchor in your frequency. Okay. So there are 7 steps or seven steps of preparation for oversoul embodiment. Okay. The first one is the flame fragmentation of the and soul diaspora, which is before we could remember fully, we had to forget collectively. Okay. So refragmented across lineages, which is the flame lineages, the temples, the tribes, civilizations, which is Lyra, Mu, Atlantis, Earth, and energetic archetypes, the healer, the seer, the guardian, the weaver, right? We had to fragment and we had to spread first, and we had to forget. Each time that you lived in distortion or devotion, a piece of your oversoul was refined. So that means every lifetime that you have lived, you were on a mission to refine a specific part of yourself to prepare you for this moment, right? Your soul became a prism, and embodiment now is returning to your crystalline whole. Okay. Next is emotional alchemy. This is, again, the preparation for oversoul embodiment. Emotional alchemy. And this is grief, rage, shame, and love, which we're going to talk about a little bit deeper after this. So every time you held grief without collapsing, every time you transmute rage into protection, every time you chose compassion over defense, you rewired your field to become a safe house for your oversoul. The oversoul cannot land in a field that bypasses, meaning you got to feel your fucking feelings. Right? It must land in truth, meaning you got to feel your feelings so you can be honest about what it is that you're experiencing. Emotional alchemy prepares the heart to hold divinity without distortion. Okay. It takes honesty. And I'll talk about sacred grief and stuff like that in a second. Also, sacred pauses and seals as well. Many flame bearers were sealed or put into stasis for cycles of lifetimes. So one time I was in a spiritual class and we were channeling something, and we kept channeling a bunch of people or a bunch of beings in like what looked kind of like a hospital room, and they were in beds, and it was like they were all sleeping. And what I picked up, or what I brought to the conversation, is I kept feeling like they were on, I don't know how to explain this, but I kept feeling like they were on spaceships. Like, it did not make sense to me, but I felt like they were on spaceships, but not everybody was in the same spaceship. Like, it was like 7 layers or 7 something that I was picking up on. Anyways, there are a bunch of our oversoul beings like Amara and stuff like that who chose stasis, which is kind of like cryo freezing in a way. So that's what it means by this, is like some people took a sacred pause. Okay. These sleeps were not punishment. They were temple guardianship from within. So it was people were protecting from premature exposure to corrupt grids, were allowed to reorientate from trauma to remembrance and divine timing, and learn to distill wisdom in silence, which prepared our voice to carry soul frequency. So silence is not absence, it's consecration. Okay. And then there were also sacred tests of sovereignty. And so every time you chose yourself without permission, you walked away from systems, gurus, and structures that diminished your knowing, meaning like telling you my way or the highway, and not empowering you as an individual. Anytime that you sat in your own unknown and did not rush to fill it with false light, meaning like you're just trying to find an answer, so you grasp at things out of desperation, you were proving to your oversoul that I'm ready to be the flame and not just serve. These moments were initiations, not just decisions. As somebody who is like currently going through an integration with my oversoul, I do want to say this. It's a lot of tests. And one thing that I realized is that in order for your oversoul to embody, your oversoul has to trust you. It's not like higher self, and it's rooted in truth in a way that I don't know. But let me tell you what's been happening to me recently. So one, I had to learn how to trust myself. And when I learned how to trust myself, I showed my oversoul that I was trustworthy, right? That I was going to do the right thing, that she could trust me, right? And so when that day happened, I was like, okay, what's next? When I started going to sleep, I'm getting tested in my dreams. And what's happening is I'm going through like old karmic loops or karmic cycles that I've kind of been in this incarnation. And it feels like somebody is teacher or somebody is watching me, somebody is observing me make the decisions that I make right now. So it's almost like in the dream field. Last night I went through like 7 series of things. And I only can remember the last one, but I went through 7 series of things that I have kind of experienced in this lifetime. And I've kind of been making the old choice to see if I would make a different choice. So it's almost like a testing, like it is a testing that happens to make sure that you're ready. Okay. And that usually happens in the dream realms. Okay. These are initiations. They're not just about you making the right decision. Right. One of the things was there was two people who was arguing, and I've kind of always played like the conflict manager when it comes to like two people bickering, and they was bickering over a mango. Like, it was so simple. It was bickering over a mango, and I walked up and I literally split the mango. I cut it, split it, and just handed them one of like both a half, and everything was fine. And then I went on to the next thing, and I was just like, obviously that was teaching me like some things are simple, like conflict resolution. Sometimes people don't see that, things can just be, you don't have to have the whole thing. Sometimes you can have parts, whatever the fucking thing. I don't know what the fuck it was trying to tell me, but that's something that I've been noticing recently. So I wanted to share that when I say sacred test of sovereignty, like seeing if you will choose distortion, seeing if you will choose specific things, the next one is earth-based remembrance codes, which is Earth herself as a living being who does not want to be pitied, by the way. That's something that I was communing with Divine Mother, and she was like, do not pity me. But she also told me that her journey is very similar to a Black woman's journey. And I was like, what do you mean by that? And she was like, that Black women are expected to take on everything, to take care of everybody, to constantly be taking it on the chin while doing it with grace, and by being pillaged for their resources and things like that. And they expected to just kind of take it. And her journey has been very similar to that. And so Black women are the highest emanation of her plight in her journey over these last years of us moving back towards remembrance. So I thought that was interesting. But Earth herself as a living being holds fragments of our specific oversoul blueprint. And so we remember through trees and stones, which are crystals, oceans, animal kin, sound, color, touch, rest, dreams, and sacred places that trigger memory, meaning like walking the earth, walking different locations. They trigger remembrance because Earth is not just a classroom. She mirrors us, or we mirror her. Okay. And as she remembers us, or she remembers us even when we forget ourselves. Okay. And that's why I was telling you about the thing that she was saying about the Black woman. The next is the reunion of the inner archetypes. You have to unify yourself. And so the inner priestess and the inner flame. The flame is about your truth. The priestess is someone who understands that they're a creator in this environment, right? Somebody who is communing with the divine. Okay. The inner child and the inner guardian, meaning you still have to enjoy life, but you also need to, use empathy with discernment. So you need to marry these two energies, in the healer and the sovereign, meaning like, yes, you want to be the type of person who does healing, but you don't want to be over healing. Like, you also need to be a sovereign being who has like a sacred yes and no compass, meaning like you only say yes to the things that truly align with you. You don't feel like you're obligated to other people. Okay. These parts were often split in past lives or timelines. And so the reunion that's happening in this life is happening because we are ready for that. Okay. So when these aspects come into harmony, our field becomes a whole chord capable of sustaining oversoul descent. Okay. And the last part that prepares us for that is the call of the oversoul cities. And we're going to talk about the oversoul cities in just a second. And I'll tell y'all which ones, the main 7 ones. Okay. But your oversoul emits a magnetic pull towards others who carry its signature. This may feel like sudden mentorship or client connections that awaken you, group memory activations, light languages, or somatic weeping, feeling like you're being remembered by those around you. Okay. You're not just remembering, you are also being remembered. So these reunion signals the oversoul city that the harmonic is ready to return. In these last couple of months, I have been meeting a bunch of people through my services who just immediately click. And 2 of these people came at the same time, which actually was a huge nodal point astrologically. And where they asked to meet me was also like a water portal, which is what I came through. And the other girl came through. It was a whole fucking thing. But a lot of synchronicities when it came to the 2 recent people that I met through my services. And it just alignment. So what does all this mean? What it means is that most of us are ready, not because we're perfect, but because we are coherent. Okay. Because we are willing. Okay. We've created enough resonance or me specifically, I know I don't know where everybody is on their journey, but a lot of us have created enough resonance in our field for the oversoul to begin to live inside of our form, which means when I say resonance, I mean you got to alchemize the pain. You got to put it somewhere. You got to deal with the grief and you got to humility. You have to have humility and compassion. You got to levitate or elevate out of polarity consciousness into high heart consciousness. Okay. You have to see the beauty in your experiences, and you also have to love yourself, right? When you've reached a specific resonance, then you become a cathedral for the flame that lives within you. And it's not built of stone. It is built with presence, meaning you have to sit present with your emotions. You cannot be emotionally fragile. You cannot have a fragile fucking ego. You cannot be the type of person that people can't tell you shit. You need to know who you are, so that when people tell you how they feel about you, you don't feel like their truth got to be your truth. But you also have to be accountable, right? You have to be able to sit present with your emotions, even when they're uncomfortable, right? And then the work becomes not seeking, but deepening, okay? So that's the 7 stages of preparation that kind of help you on that journey to Oversoul embodiment. Now let's talk about some of the facets within that, which is emotional sovereignty. Okay. You need to reach emotional sovereignty. Okay. And emotional sovereignty is a spiritual technology. Okay. These sacred forces of rage, grief, neutrality, and stillness are not obstacles to transcend. They are living thresholds. They are the flames we must walk through, not work around. Okay. So that's what we're going to talk about. It's not an easy journey. It's supposed to be hard. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. It's supposed to be hard, but even in it being hard, you still take the proper steps. You still do it scared. You still push yourself forward. But if you keep telling yourself, well, this is hard, this is hard, this is hard, you talking yourself out of it. You gaslighting yourself out of it. You know, yes, this is hard. It's okay to say, you know what? This fucking sucks. But then you got to get out of that immediately, because that's your mind being in your body's business. Get your mind out of your body's business. Okay? You got this. Change that it's so hard to, you know what? No, I have been through worse in my motherfucking life. I've survived everything, and I've never really fell on my ass. I got this shit. I just got to keep going one step at a time, one day at a time. Switch to the mother and get out of the father. The father is the mind. The mother is the soul. Nurture yourself. Okay. Now, sacred rage and sacred grief are gateways of remembrance. Okay. Sacred rage is not chaos. It is not violence. It is the moment your soul remembers it was never meant to be small. Okay. Rage and anger is the part of you that says, y'all got me fucked up. It's I tell people all the time in mentorship, maybe you should fucking get mad, because maybe then you'll do something about it. It's the part of you that says, I want more. It's the part of you that's passionate. Okay. So when it rises, something holy is being desecrated. Boundaries have been crossed silently for too long. And you remember what was taken, what was silenced, what was erased. It is the part of you that says, you got me fucked up. It's the part of you that wants to protect yourself. Okay. That's why boundaries come in here. You want to protect yourself. Right? So in sacred rage, you do not destroy. You are actually reclaiming your truth. Like, nah, stop the fucking press. I deserve better than this. That's what sacred rage is. But you've been taught that rage and anger are bad emotions. No, the fuck they not. They want you to think that it's bad so that you don't protect yourself. Specifically when it comes to Black women, the angry Black woman. Why? So that you don't protect yourself, because they intend to take and pillage you for all of your resources, for all of your creations, for all of your fucking things. Right? They do that intentionally, because then you won't have boundaries and you'll be stuck in being nice instead of being authentic. Okay? Period. I love that for you, Rhea. Okay? So rage cuts away the distortion. It's when you start to burn the false scaffolding. It's when you declare no more, not here, not anymore. I'm done. Okay. Sacred rage becomes distorted when it's suppressed or misdirected, which is why they say the angry Black woman. Right. But When it's felt and when it's channeled through your heart, it becomes a fire of reclamation. Do you understand how powerful anger is? As a person who went through anger management twice in life, don't judge me. I ain't judging you. Okay? Twice. Once in the 4th grade, mind your business. I was an angry youth. And once my senior year of college, again, I don't know what my excuse was there. I just wanted that, needed that with everybody. Okay? When I used to get mad, it used to feel like the blood inside of my body was boiling, right? And then my ears would get hot. I would start dissociating from reality. I would physically start shaking. And then it would not be able to calm myself down until I put hands and feet or until I am literally verbally assaulting somebody. I used to literally shake. In corporate America, literally be shaking and have to raise my hand. Now I've professionally cut somebody out so fucking smooth. And it just comes out of me. I'm a very clever girl. I don't even know where it comes from. Right? There is so much energy and power in rage. There is so much energy and power in rage. You have to learn how to transmute that into something. I built my whole everything based off of rage because I told myself when I was younger and my whole family was talking about us, we weren't going to be shit and all of these things. And guess what I told myself? I'm going to make you eat your fucking words. I was angry. I went to college. I was a #1 athlete. I fucking hated track and field. I hated it. But they was paying for college. Right? I moved to multiple different cities. I've had 4 different businesses, all based off of anger, all because of rage. I am sitting in front of you today, not working for anybody. Now, when I get to the top and I want to make them eat their word, I don't even want that no more because I done healed in the process of the thing. Now I'm motivated by something else, wanting us all to be okay. You know, there's so much power in rage. You have to learn how to transform it, which means you got to allow yourself to feel it. It is the part of yourself that wants to protect yourself. It is telling you, y'all got me fucked up. Then take that and do something with it. It's like the same thing when you break up with that man and all of a sudden you level up. Rage. Rage is what that is. It's a lot of power in it. Don't let them siphon your rage or don't let them make you misdirect or put it down because they got you thinking that it's a bad thing. Rage builds empires. Okay, so use it as a tool to reassert your voice and your boundaries. Break ancestral contracts of silence because you've been silenced. And because you've been silenced, you can't access those parts inside of you that make you fucking magic. Okay? Rewire your nervous system to no longer tolerate distortion. Don't keep playing the game if it doesn't feel good, move in a different direction and fuck who feels it. Now, I'm not saying the emotion itself is valid. Let me make this clear. The emotion itself is valid. The emotional reaction is not valid, friends. I shouldn't have been putting hands and feet on people. That's not valid. And that's not even me. I don't like doing that. I don't like the terror I see in people's face when this 6 foot is coming towards them. Big body bends. Okay? I don't like that. And I don't think that solves anything. It tells you, yeah, okay, don't fuck with me, you know, but it doesn't actually help the situation. There's no communication. There's no resolution. Now I got to keep looking over my shoulder, you know? Thank you. Love you too. This will be on my YouTube, y'all. Okay. It doesn't really resolve the thing. So the emotion itself is valid, but the reaction to the emotion was not valid. Okay. So next is sacred griefs. Grief is the river that remembers love. Okay. Grief is not weakness. It is proof that you have loved deeply. You know, that's why I tell people, even when, you know, you stop being friends with people, it don't have to be, you know, in beef, you know, and it is okay for you to grieve people when you stop dating them or you stop being around them or you have to let them go. Even if you're the one who made the decision to let them go, it is okay for you to grieve them because it's just a sign that you know how to love deeply and that your soul still recognizes what should have never been lost. Okay? Grief is not a wound, it's a memory. I talked about in the episodes with Amara how when she took the crystal and put it into the 144,000 shards and she encoded it with her grief and her rage, because those hold memories. You have to remember what love is. If you don't have grief, grief comes from you loving somebody. When do you usually experience grief? When people that you love die, right? When you break up with somebody, when you have loved, right? So it often surfaces when you remember your oversoul family and cannot find them. You know, you feel how long you've been sealed or silenced, and you start to be like, damn, my whole life I've just been letting people run over me. That's grief, right? You begin to dissolve the separation between timelines. Grief, when it's honored, is the softening of your heart so that you can feel again. But if you keep acting all nonchalant and like no shit is bothering you and that you didn't love nobody, you silenced your grief, right? Be chalant. Be chalant as fuck, actually. You know, it means that you felt something, and there's nothing wrong with you feeling things because you are a feeling being. And in order for you to embody, you got to get in your body, and your body feels, because your body's a water temple. Your body feels. Grief is what allows you to feel again. So it's almost like, you know, those moments where you start to remember your childhood and you start to cry and you hadn't cried about it in so long. You thought that you had got over it, and you've been so hard and so, you know, punishing people for all the things that they've done to you. And then you have that moment where you realize you just are hurt, right? And you crack open like a fucking egg. Grief is what softens you again. Okay. It's the frequency that melts the stone of shame and restores compassion to the body. And why I say shame, or what I think about shame within grief, is the fact that you love somebody even if they've done things to harm you. It's the fact that I still love you after you betrayed me. The fact that there's shame that comes with that, whether we want to acknowledge that or not. You know, the fact that after all this shit, I still fucking love you. I still want to be in community with you, but I can't because I gotta love me more, right? There's shame that comes with grief sometimes when the person is still alive and walking this motherfucking plane and they have hurt you. Okay, so that's what I mean by it melts shame, the shame that you have. Okay, use it as a tool to reopen your heart chakra after years of protective closure. A lot of times when people get hurt, they see it as, oh, it must be me, and they try to love less. They make adjustments to the innocence and the purity of their love. But you closing yourself off is the opposite of what you should do. You loved and you learned. That person wasn't able to receive it, so what? You shouldn't make everybody else pay the consequence of that person not being able to receive what you have. And I would like to argue on my position. A lot of times when I first went after, or when I first was coming into relationships with people, I was actually just trying to love people who ain't have love, you know, and those are usually people who don't know how to receive it. You know, I was see people who needed to be loved, and I would say to myself, I'm gonna be the one for them. I'm gonna show them what love is. You know, whole time got sat the fuck down. You know, so use your grief to let go of timelines and peoples and versions of yourself that no longer belong. You know, the version of yourself that went through that is not a bad version of yourself, not a version of yourself you should be ashamed of. You tried. So what did you try over and over again, and you knocked your motherfucking head against that motherfucking wall 1,000 times for your ass to get it? So what? I've been there. Sometimes you have to do it the wrong way to figure out what the right way is, because we learn through contrast. Sometimes we got to keep making mistakes until we can realize, okay, this is a fucking mistake. I need to choose differently if I want differently, right? So forgive yourself for those versions of yourself that was a little bit thick in the skull, hot in the ass, you know? Because the only person or version of yourself that you can do something about is the version that's existing right now. So just make different choices. You know, you lived, so what? You know, flew a little too close to the sun, but you lived, right? Access memory codes that are stored in your emotional body. In order for you to access the memory codes, memory is stored in the grief. It's stored in the rage. Okay? You have to feel the pain for you to gain access to the codes, because I told you Amara hid the codes in dense, trauma-filled environments. Okay? Now, that's sacred grief, that's sacred rage. let's talk about sacred neutrality. Those are the gateways: sacred grief, sacred rage. They're gateways to the version of yourself that you want to be. Okay. Sacred neutrality is the mirror that does not flinch. Neutrality is not numbness. I look out and I see what the fuck is going on in the world. I see it, I witness it, but I don't have to absorb it. Okay. But it's not mean that does not mean that I'm not numb to it. I absolutely see it. I absolutely feel it. Okay. It is the soul's capacity to remain sovereign in a storm. Okay. It is not born. It is not born of apathy, but of discipline of presence. Meaning, can you sit present with those things? It all goes back to presence. You're in neutrality when you can witness others' emotions without absorbing them. Compassion is just sitting with people, sitting presence with people as they navigate their emotions. You don't actually have to do anything. Okay. Can you stop defending yourself to be understood? Can you stop trying to be seen by people who refuse to see you? Can you hold paradox, meaning truth and untruth, light and shadow? Can you hold both things without collapsing? And when I say collapsing, I mean, no, my way is the right way. And you need to believe me and you need to agree with me. And we can't agree to disagree because my way is right. Can you say, what, there's some truth in both sides of this? Maybe we don't know the truth. Can you remain open and flexible? Because openness and flexibility are a sign of good health, right? So neutrality is a space where all distortion becomes untangled. Okay. Meaning you can see both sides of the situation. That's what I mean by neutrality. You sitting in the center point and you can see that point and all the things that go that way, but you also can see that point and all the things that go that way. And you are witnessing it from the center point. You're not over here too much and you're not over there too much. Okay. It is the energetic environment where transformation becomes possible. Only when you can see it from a balanced perspective can you transform things. Okay. So you need to use neutrality as a tool because it is. Why? Because it helps you to read energy cleanly without projection. You need to be able to look at both views so that you're not projecting your trauma or projecting your fears or projecting your things, right? When you can look at it from both views, you have a fair judgment of the situation. You have a fair interpretation of what's going on, right? It facilitates powerful mirror work in flame readings. Okay. And you can choose actions from soul alignment and not emotional reaction because you're not triggered in the process of those things. Okay. And then the last one is sacred stillness, which is something I am working on right now because it sucks to not be doing. And I'm a doer because, yeah, it's the womb of rebirth is where stillness comes from. Stillness is the gate between death and rebirth. It is the void from which the oversoul speaks without sound, meaning that it is where things start to become clear. Okay. When you're in true stillness, you are not waiting. You are actually remembering yourself, meaning, can you sit with yourself? Can you stay present with your emotions? Can you get into that deeper silence and understand those deeper truths about yourself? Okay. This is where you are actually re-entering the oversoul rhythm, okay, where nothing is being forced and everything just arrives to you because things magnetize towards you. If you're chasing something, you're out of alignment. Things that are meant for you come to you. So you have to be in a state of receiving. Stillness teaches you how to be in a state of receiving and openness. Okay. You don't create from stillness. You do not create from stillness. You become creation. That when they say get into the present moment and that is where you create, that's where all the creativity lives, where all the ideas and things live. It's in that stillness. So I think we got to stop looking at it as meditating. I've thrown out the word meditation because when I tell people they need to meditate, they think they're supposed to be doing something. They think they're supposed to be seeing trees and meeting their ancestors and communing and all of those things. Now I say sit in stillness, sit with yourself. Sit in stillness, do nothing. Because nothing is even sacred. Nothing is even something. That's where I'm at now. Nothing is happening right now. Nothing. Yes, but nothing is just when you are forming. You think nothing is happening. Nothing's happened physically because this is the realm of effects. Things need to realign and recalibrate spiritually for you to even see the nothing that is happening. But nothing is also sacred. Sometimes you're just in an incubation period. Sometimes you're just waiting for things to form, not even waiting, remembering the things that are forming. Okay. So you don't push from stillness, you pulse with it. You enter into the resonant field. Okay. So use it as a tool. Reset your field and clear out the noise. Receive unfiltered oversoul codes. Discern between desire and divine timing. You figure out what steps to take. Everything becomes clear when you're just sitting with yourself. You know what to do. You always have known what to do. Your mind is what confused you into not trusting that knowing. So get out of your mind. When you sit in stillness, you can bypass that masculine principle. It relaxes it because your mind needs to be doing something. So when you stop doing something, your mind can rest. And now you jump into your body, and your body is just presence. Okay? It's just presence. So what you need to understand is you are not your emotions. Your emotions are technologies. Your emotions are technologies. These sacred forces are not things to avoid or overcome. They are the four guardians of your inner temple. Rage purifies. It says, whatever the fuck y'all been doing, y'all ain't doing that no more. Right? Grief softens you. Grief is what is you choosing to feel. You choosing to love. You only experience grief if you have loved. It softens you. Neutrality clarifies. You need to be able to see both sides so that you're being fair and just. And stillness prepares you. You're being prepared to be able to receive what it is that you said that you want. So when it's held consciously, they build the bridge between the fractured self and your divine center. They rebuild the bridge between you and yourself. So if you feel disconnected from yourself, you feel stuck, stillness, neutrality. Feel the rage, feel the grief. I actually have a rage room in my head. And I go there and I got an old school with a bat. I got a bunch of white pillars with some vases. Over here, you got the fucking axe throwing. Over here, you got the knife throwing. My ex's picture is on a bunch of balloons. It's like a blue head, the two arms, body, two legs, knife throwing, plate throwing. And every single time I set the car on fire, I don't really know. It's a door over in the corner where I can open it and I can run straight out to the edge of a cliff. And I just scream as loud as I want to scream. Every time that I want to rage on somebody, because sometimes I just wake up and I feel like destroying shit. I don't fucking know what's wrong with me. Feminine rage has been suppressed for a long time. And so I go into this rage room in my head and I fucking rage. And then I come out and I feel great after beating this car with a bat, after busting out all the windows, breaking all the vases, throwing all the knives. Use your imagination. Rage is sacred, but you need an outlet for it. And so I just go fuck shit up because that's what I like to do, you know, and to keep me from fucking everybody else shit up, I'll just go in my head and do it. So when my mentees, I teach them how to create these worlds. I have a crystalline world where I go and get life force energy. Period, Zena. You know, I have a place that I go and get life force energy. I got a place that I go when I'm too much on the money. Like I need the money. I need the money now. When I'm on my Mr. Krabs, I got a place that I go to because I got to get that up off of me. Because you got to trust money. You know, it's got a river full of money that I just jump in and flow with. You know, sometimes I spend my day shopping there because I needed to get it up off of me. I'm not taking any mentees right now, y'all. I'm too full at the capacity right now, but I will let y'all know when I am. I'm in the process of restructuring all my services and stuff too, so that I can do like more like 3-month mentorship stuff. I can do flame readings and stuff like that, because I'm getting there. I know I've been getting so many people reaching out to me about mentorship lately, but I'm at 9 people right now. I can't take another soul. I love y'all, but 9 people is ridiculous. So yeah. So all of these things are preparing you for embodiment. So we just talked about that preparation path for embodiment. These are the 4 inner pillars. These are the 4 sacred forces, the 4 guardians of your inner temple that you need to get through in order for you to reach that divine core, in order for you to actually touch yourself, touch who you are. Okay. So I also talked about the oversoul cities, right? I talked about you needing to you start feeling the call of the oversoul city. So let's talk about the oversoul cities and why they're important. And I'm also going to tell y'all the main 7 ones, okay? So the oversoul cities are not physical places in the way that we know them, but they're multi-dimensional sanctuaries and temple complexes woven into higher harmonic planes of earth and beyond, meaning like usually 7D to 12D plus, okay? They're not imaginary, they are actually real. And now that I think about it, that crystal city that I go to get the life force energy, I wouldn't be shocked if that was an oversoul city because it looks too intricate for me to have designed it with my little brain, you know? So it's constructed of light geometry, harmonic architecture, and flame-coded consciousness. We will start to remember them because we have walked among them before, okay? And right now we're beginning to reweave them right now, okay? So what are oversoul cities? Oversoul cities are interdimensional settlements where oversoul consciousness gathers, anchors, and radiates specific frequencies into planetary grids. Okay, they exist in the realm of 6D to 13D. Okay, and many of them hover over or within Earth's etheric layer. Each city has a specific function, though, a specific tone, a specific core emanation that supports evolution and remembrance of each being. So we're going to go through the main 7 just so that y'all know, because when y'all have awareness of something, y'all can start to embody or tap into in all of the things. Okay, so some are known in fragments in different traditions as like the inner earth crystal cities. Oh, what? That's probably where I'll be going. Anyways, the new earth harmonic realms, the temple of flame, light, and sound, and the cities of Ra, Alcone, or Amenti. Amenti is what they consider to be like the gates to hell or whatever, but it's actually a portal. It's actually a portal. So, anywho, so here are the 7 known oversoul cities. Each one has a core oversoul tone and support remembrance in specific areas of soul evolution. So some of these, when I'm telling y'all this, your memory might start to stir. So just let it stir if it starts to stir. Okay. So the first one is called Aurelis. And Aurelis is the city of sacred sovereignty. The oversoul tones are gold, white, opal. And the function is realignment of flame sovereignty and remembrance of your soul vows. This one hovers above the higher template of ancient Lemuria. Okay, is known for the crown to root reweaving, meaning like reweaving of your chakra system, sovereignty initiation, and the white gold flame scrolls. And there are people who have the white gold flame frequency. So this is probably the oversoul temple that you probably tap into. Okay. A lot of people are revisit this oversoul temple when they're reclaiming authority from external systems, you know. So when you stop looking for a governance or looking for a savior or looking for things outside of yourself, you align with this Aurelis city. Okay. Next is Kalethre, and it's the city of healing and frequency weaving. The oversoul tone is emerald, rose, and indigo. The function is deep recalibration, flame body repair. And the location is that it's interwoven within the inner earth stargates between the Himalayas. Okay. It's known for the water temples, the mirror pools, the dolphin keepers, and sacred breath temples. And a lot of people will visit this place when they're healing from deep psychic trauma or lineage distortion. Next is Shal Amene. Shal Amene. Yeah. It's the city of oversoul mirrors, and this overtone is violet mirror in obsidian. The function is oversoul fusion and integration. It orbits the etheric field of Venus, meaning like it's the second field of Venus is kind of located or within that. It's known for its reflective chambers. It removes seals and divine counterpart work as well. So the divine union, working with your divine counterpart, which is crazy because I had a dream about my divine counterpart the other day, which is kind of crazy. And you may visit this when you are integrating duality or working with the mirror flame path, which is the path that I'm on. Okay. Fourth, you have the Cyrethia. No, Cyrethai. And it's the city of light codes and harmonic library. Sorry, I'm hearing it in my head. And sometimes I get the tones. Anyways, the oversoul tones are indigo, sapphire, and pale rose. The function is memory retrieval, scrolls, and sigil reactivation. The location is Iseon Stargate, which is the Pleiadian realm. The Pleiadian realm. Okay. Is known for crystal language, sacred scripts, and soul language reawakening. And people visit it to remember their soul technology or they star training. And a couple episodes back, we talked about the star training that happens on Sirius A, Sirius B, Venus, all of the different places. So this is where people go to this specific light system to remember that training. Okay. So when you start to embody your oversoul. Next, you have Maru Alka, which is the city of Earth guardianship. The oversoul tone is going to be ruby, gold, and emerald. The function is grid keeping, earthwork, and elements sovereignty. It is between Mount Meru, interfacing with South America and Africa. And it's known for flame gridding, earth song codes, elemental offerings. And you may visit when you are called into earth when you're called into earth service, gatekeeping, or grid working. Sixth is Alunthiel, which is the city of creation, flame, and soul blueprinting. It's the oversoul tone is rose, gold, pearl, and solar. The function is flame lineage reweaving, birth and rebirth templates. Location is a 12D plane that overlays the ancient Atlantis pre-fall. Okay. Oh, that makes sense, my love. That makes sense. That's crazy because out of all of these, the Aurelius catches me, like I get stuck in that. The one that the Chalamine also, and then this Maru. So there's definitely probably a connection there. But this Alanthael is known for womb temples, oversoul birth agreements, sacred soul design, and people visit it to reactivate their flame lineage role or stewarding a soul-based creation. And then the last one is what I talked about, say El Unatherial, my original oversoul tone. There's also an oversoul city, okay, which is the crystalline nexus of the Serai flame. The tone is opal in all flame frequencies. The function is union of oversoul streams and unification of the 13 flame paths. The location is a nexus point temple within the oversoul grid, not bound to one space. And it is known for sigil harmonics, collective missions, and sacred codes of return, which is really crazy because I've been doing work with my oversoul. And I have a sigil that I did not know that I had. I also have like 2 flame lineages inside of me that need repair that just came to me. And I just started drawing it, which is kind of crazy. It's just like I knew what to draw. And then I also had like a sigil to unlock my voice, which was kind of crazy. It's things have been crazy lately. I need to start sharing more of my journey and stuff on here. But people go to this Sael Unatherial when they're remembering the full embodiment of oversouls across timelines. Okay. So how do you recognize if you visited one of these places? You awaken with sacred geometry burned into your memory. You hear light language or tone keys repeating in the dream space. You feel deep calm or belonging when you're meditating, like you've landed somewhere, or you return from sleep with new codes, symbols, or phrases that you did not invent, or you remember colors or patterns that don't really exist on Earth. You will know if it is a color and a pattern that don't exist on Earth because there's no way for you to describe what this is. You know what I'm saying? There's no way for you to describe what it is. Your oversoul is not separate from you, baby. Your oversoul is you. You just need to sit in stillness. And your oversoul speaks to you through your heart. It don't speak up here, it speak down here. But it's not separate from you. Which we're going to talk about is the separation between the higher self and the oversoul, and how we got to stop looking at it as separation when I move into the new earth spiral, which is going to be our next series that we kind of do. Okay. Yes, Smiley Ray. That is where we get to see that, though, is when we're on the shrooms. Okay. Now, the oversoul cities are not just symbolic. Me and others like me are beginning to reconstruct them energetically. Okay. So as we shift into a collective that can hold higher harmonic templates, we are revisiting these cities in our dreams. And a lot of us are rebuilding them. Okay. Why do we need to reconnect to these cities? Is because when we reconnect to the oversoul cities, we remember the harmonic architecture of our oversoul once that our oversoul once lived within. Okay. So not only as light, but as function, as rhythm, as relationship, and as resonance. So these cities are not just places, they are living intelligences encoded with divine design. Okay. Now, during the Lyran fragmentation and the descent into polarity, what we refer to as the fall, our soul blueprints were fractured from their original harmonics. They were dispersed across systems like Sirius, Pleiades, Earth, and they were sealed behind veils of amnesia to prevent interference during the healing cycle, meaning we went through an extreme trauma, we needed to heal. Okay. So a lot of us, that's why we go around projecting this stuff, is because we all hurt. We've been hurt. We were hurt. Okay. If you've seen what has happened with Jackie Christie and her daughter, hurt. Okay. And sometimes when you hurt, you just repeat the cycle. Sometimes when you hurt, you just display the hurt. You want somebody to pay for the hurt. That's the cycle we just went through. So some of these were sealed so that we don't fuck them up while we're in this process of healing, right? So the separation was not punishment. It was a containment system to keep the distortion from further replicating, right? But now the harmonic is actually returning. So the oversoul cities are starting to sing again. Okay. So we need to reconnect to them because we need to reclaim the soul's infrastructure. The oversoul cities hold the original crystalline scaffolding of your soul path. This is your sacred role. This is your memory vaults. This is your flame fusions and your inner authority and your energetic law, how your essence moves. You were never supposed to come into this reality without that information. However, because we have been disconnected from our oversouls, which I already talked about the false light system and how they did that shit, right? But because we were disconnected from it, now we need to reconnect. Because without reconnection, you may have the spark of awakening, meaning you know that something needs to be done differently, but the structure to sustain your oversoul's frequency on earth, you're not going to have that. Reconnection stabilizes your truth. So it lives in your spine, not in your spirit. And that's why I say breathe up and down your spine, because if you want to start remembering, breathe up and down your spine. Okay. To access undistorted creation templates. That's another reason why we need access to this, because each oversoul city is like a temple archive of uncorrupted design. Okay, so when you reconnect, you begin to build from original flame codes. So not trauma blueprints. You're not building based off of hurt or fear or anything like that. You are building based off of your original flame codes. Okay, creation systems that reflect unity rather than hierarchy, because it's not about hierarchy. Everybody has a specific function. Everybody has a specific tone. Everybody needs to stand in a place and stop worrying about what the hell this person doing over there and that person doing over there, so that we can collectively rise, right? And also restore our gifts through remembrance rather than seeking to feel special. You already are special, baby. All of our gifts are so different and so unique to us. As a person who is a spiritual mentor, I have so many clients who read in different ways. And it's like, I could never do that. I don't know how the fuck you're doing that. It's brilliant. I love that for you. I wish I could read like that, but that's brilliant. They looking at me like, well, you read really fast. I think that's brilliant. No, baby, the speed ain't everything. What you're doing is the imagery, the this, the that, the reading through the numbers. Like, that is insane. You know, so you got to figure out what your gift is. Okay. So you move from channeling insight to generating truth. And that's the difference that I've seen in my gifts. And I told you I struggle with my gifts when I embody my oversoul. I struggle for a couple of weeks, and it's because I'm not feeling a frequency outside of myself no more. I could feel a frequency, like I could feel a vibration, and I was interpreting that vibration. And I was so comfortable doing that when I embody my oversoul, it's nothing coming from outside of me anymore. It's coming from my heart. And it is subtle. There's no force. There's no frequency. There's no nothing. It's just me speaking truth. I just say what the thing is. And I hope that that is the truth for the other person. I mean, it hasn't failed me, but it sucks because you cannot be reliant on external anything. You have to literally rely on your truth being your truth. Okay. So the third thing is to heal the field of separation on earth. Our reconnection is not personal. It is planetary. It is planetary. Okay. As we reunite with the oversoul cities, the harmonics that we hold anchor into Earth's field. They help to dissolve the inversion grids, which were placed over Earth's grids, which is the false life systems that some people are tapping into because they living out of fear and things like that. And it opens remembrance pathways for other people with shared city codes, meaning the other people within your soul family. Okay. So you becoming a living portal of harmonic coherence when you start to reconnect to this oversoul field, you start to connect to other people around you as well. Okay. Now, what reconnection does for you is that you will begin to remember your sacred role, not just as an idea, but an embodied impulse, which is something I'm doing now. That's why I'm restructuring all of my everything. That's why I made the tarot deck, which is really an oversoul codex. The reason why I did those things is because I'm restructuring everything, right? You'll attract others from your city or harmonic field, collaborations, mirrors, or co-weavers. You'll notice your nervous system calming, your voice clearing, your decisions clarifying, because your system is home again. Okay. Reconnection equals realignment, which equals resurrection. You're resurrecting your old self, your original tone. Okay. So common signs that you are ready for this is that you may feel drawn to geometric or harmonic structures, spirals, domes, crystalline grids. You feel like you're building something, you just don't know how to name it. You weep or you cry at the sound of certain tones or languages that feel like home. And you let go of distorted timelines and you're starting to seek truth-based leadership. Okay. Here are the common misconceptions around oversoul embodiment. Okay. You are not here to ascend out of your body, even though they preach ascension. You are not here to ascend out of your body. Okay. You are here to embody the divine within your body. You're here to bring God, the God within, into this reality. Okay. To ground the oversoul into form, into voice, into choice, and into reality. Okay. Ascension was never about escape. It was actually meant to be integration. Okay. So the misconception here is that ascension means leaving the body or vibrating too high to feel. The truth is embodiment means feeling everything so fully and so cleanly that nothing becomes distortion. And so the thing about that is one thing that I realized when I embodied my oversoul, or as I've been going through this process, is that I feel everything way more. Going out in crowds, being around other people, especially while I'm integrating, I get so drained sometimes when I'm around a whole bunch of people and a whole bunch of energy. Sports bras, oof, sports bras hurt. The tights, the elastic like tight, them shits hurt my womb. Like it's like I am becoming hypersensitive to everything around me, like the clothes that I put on my skin, like the everything, y'all, everything. And I thought that I thought it would be different because I'm not absorbing people's emotions in the same way that I was, but it's just like I can immediately feel when something is wrong. It's because my body's having a reaction to everything. My body has a reaction to everything. I can hear the tone underneath people's, the energy underneath people's words. It's kind of strange, but it's not that you become numb to anything. You experience it more fully. You become more sensitive. Okay. Yes, your body starts to repel food, and sometimes you don't even need food. It's crazy. It's crazy over here. So you vibrate higher because you are more fully present, not because you escape density. Okay. Your oversoul embodiment is not floating, it's anchored in presence into every single layer. Okay. The second one is that your oversoul, the common misconception is that your oversoul is a higher self you connect to occasionally. That's not true. Your oversoul is you. It is undivided you. It is you as whole. Okay. It's you as your whole self, not a fragmented version of yourself, not an identity that you assigned. It's you in your truth, like your full truth. Okay. So it's not a spirit guide. It's not outside of you. It is your divine operating system gently re-entering into your body's field. Okay. So you're not channeling, you're a living being. You actually are living in beingness. Okay. Another common misconception is that you have to be perfect or pure or healed before your oversoul can return. That's not true either. Your oversoul is not waiting for you to be pure. It is waiting for you to be coherent, which means honest, which means emotionally integrated, which means emotionally regulated. Okay. And stable enough to hold sacred power. Okay. You don't become the oversoul by bypassing your pain. You have to go through the pain. The pain is the guardian to the inner temple. Okay. You have to become it by making room for truth, meaning you got to be honest, and you don't know how you feel about something until you feel the feelings that tell you how you feel about something. So you cannot be nonchalant. You need to be very chalant. You need to be very chalant, actually. Okay. The next one is once you embody your oversoul, life becomes easy or high vibes. Not true. Not true. Oversoul embodiment is sacred stewardship. Stewardship. So it comes with a heightened sensitivity. You are sensitive to everything. Also a greater responsibility, because I am one of the first people to remember, or a part of this first wave that remembers. I feel like I have to help people. Like I feel like I have to help you because nobody is talking about it, you know? And you also feel a deeper call into the collective field, meaning like me saying, I need you to get in line so that I can get in line and we can all stand in our spot so we can all help the collective. Because if one of you get in line, then it affects 17,000 or 70,000, whichever one. So I need y'all because I can't do it by myself. That's what I mean. Okay. So you'll feel grief, you'll feel rage, you'll feel your shadow more clearly as well, not less. You know, those parts of you that you run away from, like you're going to feel they're integrated into who you are. They just are who you are, you know, and you become way more aware of them, if that makes sense. And it's because your body is now the mirror that transfigures it. Okay. The other misconception is that embodiment means having constant clarity. Not true. I told you, my oversoul will give me a word, trust. And until I trust, I don't hear nothing else from sis. I don't hear nothing else. And then when I'm in stillness, and she told me now, stillness is the word for the last 2 weeks. After I got through trust, it's stillness. Okay, so I'm sitting in stillness, I'm doing all these things, you know, and I'm trying to race to the end. And sis is not giving me nothing until I learn how to be in stillness. She just keeps saying, you're forming. Nothing is something. Nothing is sacred. You're forming. It sucks because you want that consistent clarity once you get in tune with your oversoul, but it's not, your oversoul is not supposed to be telling you how to make every single decision. That's still you looking for something outside of yourself, right? Embodiment means that you are being so rooted in truth that even in the fog, you trust your pulse, you trust yourself to be able to guide yourself, right? You don't need to know everything. You need to feel your way with devotion. You need to, how are things making you feel? If it makes you feel good, go in that direction. If it makes you feel bad, set a boundary, move away from it. That's it. You know, that's it. Feel your way through it. How do things make you feel? And sometimes you don't know how things make you feel until you try. Which means you got to allow yourself to make mistakes too, because it's not perfection. It's about authenticity. You do the thing. If you don't like it, you do something else. You know, you don't have to know everything. You're not trying to think your way, intellectualize your way through life, because it's only 10% of who you are. You are feeling your way through life. Okay. So this is what we need to understand. As a collective, we are moving. And we're moving from seeking the signs to becoming the signal. We are moving from holding the roles to emanating the frequency, from channeling the truth to transmitting as truth. Oversoul embodiment doesn't change you. It rewires the way that you are transmitting. Okay. It alters how you hold other people, what you create, what you permit, what you allow, what you transmit without even opening your mouth to speak a word. It is the highest form of soul responsibility and the most profound form of freedom. Because you don't need nobody governing you. You got this. You trust yourself to do it. Okay? Now, what we still need to understand in order for us to anchor in this new energy or this new earth and embody the oversoul. And remember, you embody the oversoul, and that is how you connect to the new earth harmonic to bring it into this reality. Okay? So we are collectively reweaving. Okay? So the first thing is energetic integrity as infrastructure. The new earth cannot be built with the same energetic leakages or self-abandonment we have normalized. And when I say self-abandonment, meaning you are prioritizing everybody else's needs and wants over yourself. That's self-abandonment. You are doing things out of obligation instead of things that you actually want to do. We have normalized that. Okay. So we need to move in integrity. Integrity is not just about morals, it's about vibration. What you say, what you charge, what you offer, what you allow, and what you embody, all of those things have to match. How you think and what you feel have to align with the actions that you take, right? This matters because the new earth template collapses when it's built on fractured energy. So, what we need to understand is what it means to move in energetic truth. Only saying yes to the things that truly light your soul on fire, being comfortable saying no to all the other things. We need to know how to know when your field is leaking or when your field is inflating, right? And then also making sure that if you are doing this type of service, pricing in your offerings have to be in energetic agreement, meaning that you cannot overcharge because of greed. It needs to be in energetic agreement with what you're actually offering. Okay. Next is restoring the sacred within the mundane. The new earth frequency is not separate from cooking and cleaning and parenting and laughing and grieving. It is the full re-enchantment of existence itself. So oversoul embodiment means bringing the divinity into the ordinary, the things that you're already doing. You're not becoming something. You're just remembering who you are and making sure that the steps that you take throughout your life mirror that, match that. Okay, it matters because so many people are still chasing sacredness outside of themselves. You don't have to do anything different than what you're already doing besides prioritizing yourself, seeing the beauty in your experiences, loving yourself, which is part of prioritizing yourself, and living authentically, making choices that are aligned with you and what you know to be true and what you feel and how you feel and how things make you feel. But it doesn't mean you have to all of a sudden start dressing like a boho goddess. It doesn't mean that you have to all of a sudden go vegan. It doesn't mean that you have to all of a sudden, do those things. You're already you're already the thing. So it's just making sure that while you're doing those things, you are still prioritizing loving yourself and treating yourself well. Okay. So we need to learn how to anchor oversoul frequency while doing daily tasks, meaning setting your intentions, my friend. That's it. Set your intention. You about to drink some water? Speak life into that water. Why? Because these are water codes that are about to go into your water temple. Tell them what to do, right? Then you drink your water. You shower and you releasing. You're restoring. You're releasing and you're restoring as you shower. Wash that off of you. You get outside and you seal your field. You go get some anointment oils. True in connection, true in truth, true in expression. You anoint yourself. True in love, true in will, true in creation, true in reception, true in transmission, true in path, the bottom of your feet. You anoint yourself. Why? So that when you walk out into this world, truth, you're sealing your field in truth, right? You close your eyes, you breathe in through your crown, you see a sun at the bottom, and when you exhale, you expand it outside of yourself. You put your energetic protection on. Then you do it again with a mirror energy, an opalescent energy, and then you expand that even further. And now whatever comes towards you that's not love and light, because you're setting your intention over your protection, it boomerangs. It goes back to its origin. Then you go and you tend to your flame first. You sit in presence. You make sure that you good. You set your intention for your day, and then you start being of service to other people. You tend to yourself first, and then you go and be of service to other people. It don't mean you ain't got to watch TV. It just means that you don't do that all fucking day. Balance. You got to make sure you working on the things you want to work on, okay? We also need to understand how the sacred spiral shows up in our home, in our breath, in our body. And spiral is you always coming back to that same point, but just from a higher perspective. Can you continue to make the choices that are aligned with you as you grow and you evolve? Once you feel different, can you behave different? Practicing oversoul presence in non-spiritual spaces. Even when you in places of distortion, are you still able to be present with your emotions? Are you still able to hold your field in your resonance, or do you collapse? Okay? Because the world around you doesn't change, you do. You start perceiving reality from a higher consciousness. But with this new earth frequency, both things are going to exist in this space. It's just you're going to be experiencing this reality. That person's going to be experiencing that reality. And that's where sacred neutrality comes in, because you're still going to see the stuff. Like I told you, somebody tagged me in that they have this new project bill and this is worse than Project 25, baby. That's not my government. I don't know. They don't got nothing to do with me, because I don't need a governor. I don't need a president. I don't need nobody playing God in my life. I am that person. Right? So, sorry, my eyes is itching. The third thing is the return of the temple body. Your body is a sacred temple. It's a water temple at that, but it is a sacred temple. The body is the first temple of this new world. So it must be treated not only as a vehicle, but as a living transmitter of codes of memory and mirrors. You cannot carry the new earth flame without tending to the vessel that it houses. You need to become more light. Okay. This matters because many still bypass embodiment through hypermasculine outputs or spiritual idealism. We need to learn how to listen to our body's energetic gates. Listen to your heart. Right? Listen to your altar major chakra. Listen to your belly, your stomach. Listen to your womb. We need to learn how to re-get in connection with our body. I just did a spiritual anatomy course. It's 3.5 hours. It's on my website, only $44.44, I believe. But 3.5 hours of telling you the different gates in your body, the different access points in your body, the things that they have told you are biological processes that actually have spiritual implications. I talk about your organs as spiritual alchemy instruments, right? We don't look at the body through that lens. We talk about menstruation, we talk about sex, we talk about sexuality, we talk about masturbation. Why? Because they've been lying to you about where your magic come from. We just talk about all of it. Right? You need to understand your body. You need to understand your body. You need to understand your body. Okay? That's on my website. Okay? So it's already there. Every month, I'm trying to do the first Sunday of each month. I hold a course. The first one was spiritual protection. The second one was spiritual anatomy. I'll probably end up doing another spiritual anatomy class, because you can't just reteach a science, in one 3.5 hour session. Okay? But I'm continuing to talk about the things. Yeah, I'll talk about your stomach. I'll talk about your skin. I'll talk about all of that. But I want to keep reteaching the things, the concepts that we need to unlearn and relearn. Because again, in order for us to move back to this path of remembrance, so many of us are still looking for answers. We still need that logical component. And yes, although I will scratch your brain a little bit, in the interim, while people are catching up, I will still be providing some of these things in class form, though. So we need to learn to listen to our body. We also need to rest. Rest is just as important as work. This society tells you that you need to do. Why? Because that's what your brain is for. That's what your mind is for. Your mind does. Your mind puts things into form, right? But if your mind is only 10% of who you are, your body is 90% of who you are. Your body rests. Your body knows how to sit in stillness, but also nourishment. Watermelon is really, really good for us melanite beings, because we're crystals, and watermelon improves the conductivity of the electricity in our body across our cells. That's why I think that it's a stereotype, because they're meant to push us away from it. Watermelon, any of the melons, cucumbers, cantaloupes, honeydew melons. Pineapple is also really good for flame bearers. Mangoes. Okay. It don't mean that you have to eat like that all the time, though. Just set your intentions over your food. I've been obsessed with watermelon lately. I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm a fiend. I keep a bucket of watermelon in my refrigerator. And now I've even migrated to Korean watermelon. I didn't even know that was a fucking thing. But they got seeds, and I need that. So even if you have to eat a seedless watermelon, speak your intention over it. Okay? Attune it to the frequency of watermelon. This is your wand in this environment. Speak over it. Tell it what to do. Okay? So, because it was made out of the energy of watermelon, it's just made out of the distorted side of watermelon, you have to recalibrate it. Okay? So, healing your body's shame as you reconnect to divine form. Meaning, like, how do you feel about your body? Can you heal the shame around your body? Allow yourself to just exist as you are and realize that this vehicle has been through a lot, this body been through a lot. Okay? Just be grateful that it's got you this far. Next is the living from flame over form, which means that a lot of us are still defining our identity by what we do, right? Trying to prove ourselves, or looking, or we are, or what we look like instead of what we carry. Okay, we define our value by this form instead of the energy inside of us, the passions that live inside of us. And this new frequency, we are going to lead through flame. And flame just means truth, your inner frequency signature. And it does not have titles or labels or appearances. Okay. As people start to awaken, they may confuse roles with essence because they're trying to play a specific role, the nice girl, right? What you need to understand is how to recognize your flame signature, how to recognize your truth. Also, flame sovereignty and spiritual branding, returning to soul-led offerings, not trends or trend-led roles, because you're trying to play a character, right? The art of sacred detachment. Okay. You need to learn how to detach, which also is a part of neutrality. This is not about emotional numbness. It's about not clinging to things, like clinging to your identity, clinging to the people around you who aren't moving as fast as you, and feeling like you need to take them with you. You know, the oversoul does not grasp or beg. It offers presence, choice, and release. Sacred detachment is what keeps you in your own field and not entangled in other people's field. And this matters because many unconsciously tether themselves to other people's pains, other people's identities, and other people's projections. You know? So can you say your truth does not have to be my truth? It is okay for you to feel that way. However, I don't feel that way. And that is, it's okay for me to do that. It's okay for me to be comfortable in that without you agreeing with me. Okay. So what we need to understand is how to stay open without over merging with other people. Why detachment is a stability frequency and not about abandonment. You're not abandoning anybody. And a lot of us don't want to let people go because we've been abandoned in life and we don't want to abandon them back, right? We want them to show that we're going to always be there for them. We would never leave them, right? But it's not realistic because as you grow and you evolve, sometimes you're going to outgrow those people. You have to be comfortable with what's for you coming in your life and what's not for you any longer leaving. Even, and you can still love those people. You know, when people leave my life, I still grieve them because I love them. However, I understand that we are two separate places in our journeys. And I can't keep coming down to where you are, and you can't meet me where I'm at. So what is we doing? Right? So we also need to practice soul boundary repair. Also, the return of soul-based community. Okay. The anger of hyper-individual healing is ending. Okay. The new earth forms through mirrors, resonance circles, and mutual remembrance. And meaning like you don't have to be alone in this journey. Okay. Temple keepers must teach others how to be together again without performance or hierarchy, meaning like how to be together with people without people pleasing, without feeling like you need to perform for them, without feeling like you need to be perfect in their presence instead of authentic, you know, without feeling like you need to compare yourself and there's some type of hierarchy and you need to be the better one or whatever the case is, seeing people as competition, judging people, criticizing people. We need to learn how to be together again because a lot of us don't understand how to do that. We take spirituality and we decorate our ego in spirituality without actually releasing and surrendering the ego and learning humility and accountability and things like that. Right? Learning that their journey is not your journey and their journey ain't supposed to look like your journey because you're not a fucking copy and paste. You know? So it matters because true community is a frequency. It's not a following. You don't follow anything, right? You're not following anybody. You don't need another teacher. Okay? So we need to understand sacred listening and flame witnessing, how to witness somebody without absorbing, without trying to jump in and help and save and heal, right? Empowering them to do their work. But we just doing our work beside each other instead of me trying to do your work and do my work. Because then you never learn the lessons and I got to keep jumping in and try to do your work. right? Realizing that some people are probably going to be left behind because they just want to talk about it. They don't actually want to do the work. And that's not on you. Because you can tell people to do this, do that, meditate, do this, do that. But if they don't want to stick to it, there's nothing you're going to be able to do. They stuck in a trauma loop that you cannot get them out until they decide to do something differently, right? Offering circles in group coherence, which is something I want to start doing. I want to start doing a monthly mirror circle, which is something I talked about at the beginning of the live, where on specific astrological dates that, because we have some pretty big astrological dates that are coming up, that would be really good for us to do some collective grief releasing. So shadow work seminars and stuff like that. So I have some of those coming up pretty soon. So just, if you don't follow my Patreon, I make announcements, and my regular group is free. The Soul Tribe group gets astrology and stuff like that. But also on my YouTube channel, I make a lot of announcements there as well. But I'll be having those coming up pretty soon where we'll do collective healing and stuff like that. But I also want to do, like, I want to get a group of people together who are remembering right now. And I already have 2 people in mind, but who are remembering right now, so that we can kind of share what we're going through and just kind of remember together, because you need other people to mirror back to you remembrance. And sometimes people say stuff that triggers a memory in you. Okay. But resonance is the only criteria for belonging. You just need to be aligned with people. You know, the reason why you feel like you don't belong with people is because y'all not at the same frequency. Y'all not at the same resonance. You trying to get people to see you, or people to hold you that don't have the capacity to hold you. You got to understand, you are water. Water conforms to the container that it is put into. So what happens is when people can't see you and people make you feel bad or people reject you, is because they don't have the capacity to meet you. They're a small container. And so they tell you too much, you too sensitive, you too that. And you're trying to squeeze your water into this small ass container instead of going to get a container that fits all of your water. In order for you to feel like you belong, you need people who are aligned with you. So without you trying to fix them, do they align? Yes or no? Do you have to teach them to see you? Do you have to teach them how to treat you and how to show up? You shouldn't have to. They're just not able to meet you where you are. Okay. And the last thing is the remembering of the oversoul cities. These are vibrational strongholds, crystalline consciousness grids we once lived within. Now we're reactivating across timelines. So when one of us remembers, the field opens for others. Okay, this is important because these cities hold the templates for healed earth society, cooperation, sacred stewardship, and harmonic technology. And what we need to understand is how to access these oversoul cities through memories, meditations, and sigils. Why we may have been seated as a key to one of these cities, and how to weave city codes into our offerings and into our space. Okay. So that is it. That is what we're going to be working on in our next series, which is the New Earth Spiral series. So this was the Atlantis, Mu, Lumeria. And then next we'll be working on what to do with New Earth energy. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Next week, we still are going to meet here on Wednesdays at 1:00, same time. However, for the next couple of weeks, we're going to take a break. I think what I want to do is some flame readings, and I have an oracle deck here, y'all. So I might stay on for another like 25 minutes and pull. If somebody wants a free card, drop it in the comments and I'll do a couple of them. I ain't going to do all of them, but I'll do a couple of them. But this is the oracle deck that I have for my flame readings. And then I have my other, or the flame codex tarot deck that I have for sale on my website is actually, it will be here next week. So I'm going to start doing some live readings for people who are on a path to remembrance. So y'all can come back here. And if you're on your path, I'll be doing some free readings for people and offering that as a service as well. So Brianna, you're the first person who said you want one. Let's do one for you. Let me pull a card for you. So y'all can just get a taste of what this new energy is coming. Yeah, I got you, Lisa. And you, Tamara, you, Zena. Ooh, 3:13 on the clock. That's the Isis energy. Okay, so Brianna, the first thing I pull for you is the Anunnaki contract, which means that you have an ancient soul tied to power misuse or technological overreach, which means that your contract here is actually ready to be rewritten. And what that means is that there is the Anunnakis were astronauts, okay? They're not inherently evil. They just fell out of alignment with a oversoul. And people who have connection to the Anunnaki framework are people who came here to either redeem themselves or rewrite their contract so that they're not stuck into distortion. And it feels like that. If I pull this card, that's what that means, okay? So there might have been an abuse of power. There might have been a focus on technology over transcendence. So in this lifetime, you came here to rewrite that. Okay. That was for Brianna. Who is next? Lisa. Let's get you, Lisa, girl. And this is my own oracle deck. I'm thinking about making this into something I sell, but I don't necessarily know if I want to do that. What I did was just buy blank tarot cards and put my own flair on it. Okay. Okay, Lisa, you got the diamond flame. And so the diamond flame is source light incarnated in this physical reality. They are purity transmissions and frequency purifiers and unity anchors. A lot of what they're here to do is hold pure flame under distortion pressure, which means that regardless of what the fuck is going on around you, you inherently hold your authenticity. Regardless of what other people are doing, you're not following into trends or anything like that. You're anchoring in source light. But the shadow side of this energy is fragility, meaning that sometimes it's really hard for you to stay present with your emotions or feel your emotions. Sometimes you can experience energy burnout and divine detachment, meaning like sometimes you can detach from your connection to the divine, okay, which just comes from shutting off your heart. It comes from trying not to be chalant. It comes from not feeling your feels. Okay, Zena, you're next. You're welcome, India. I appreciate that. Hi, Twyla. Hey, girlfriend. Okay, so for you, Zena, I get the womb gate. And this is a creative and ancestral cleaning of your womb, and your womb being a memory vault, okay, which means you are here to clean your ancestral womb, meaning there was probably a lot of womb trauma in your family. I don't know if that's sexual abuse, sexual assault, or just suppression of voice and creativity, which can also be womb. Womb typically has to do with emotional energy as well. But what you birth right now actually clears the bloodlines that came behind you, meaning like you are here to alchemize your pain and your grief and everything. And when you do that, you actually clear your bloodline. And the people who come after you do not have to experience what you had to experience. Okay, this is for Tamaria. So Tamaria, you got the rose gold flame. I got a rose gold body, girl. Know a lot about it. So the rose gold flame is usually Venetian, meaning like you might come from beauty, love, and all those things. It's holy devotion and remembrance. This is priestess energy. And people who have the priestess energy are part of our sacred service guides, meaning they are here to live a life of service. They're here to hold rituals and ceremonies and flame integrity, meaning you got to move in integrity. You got to be who you authentically are, because through you holding that frequency, you help other people to remember, you inspire other people as well. However, this energy tends to have martyrdom. Sometimes they're self-sacrificing. They prioritize everybody else's needs in front of their own. Sometimes they overgive, they people please, and they provide service without rest, meaning they don't know how to prioritize themselves. Okay, so that's for Tamara. I'll get you India. I'll get you India next. You are welcome, my love. You are welcome, my loves. Okay, so let me do India real quick, and then I'll jump to Sunflower. Okay, I got you, C, as well. Let me do India real quick. Hold on. But yeah, I'll have a whole flame reading oracle session for people to book, and I'm going to make it pretty affordable as well. But because I want to help people who are on a path to remembrance. Okay, this is for you, India. So I got the emerald flame. Now I love me an emerald flame. These are our earth. These are our earth people. Okay. So the emerald flame comes with womb wisdom, which means you get a lot of wisdom from your ancestors. Okay. Womb wisdom. Okay. And instincts. You're probably an instinctual person. You need to make sure you trust your instincts. These are our earth stewards. Okay. They are temple body anchors, meaning y'all anchor in the temple. Y'all are also root gate holders as well. Okay. You are here for embodied healing and remembrance through touch. So you're probably really good with your hands. You probably could do something like Reiki or energetic healing through your hands. But the issue that comes in with this energy is dissociation from your body. When you are not in your body and you living in your mind, you are out of alignment with your energy itself. And then also neglecting your nourishment, not taking care of your body as the sacred temple that it is. Okay? Not taking care of your body. All right, so next we got sunflower. All right, sunflower, we got the solar flame lineages. And this could either be the gold flame, the white flame, or the deep amber flame, okay? They are here to anchor divine sovereignty and soul leadership, which means you have more of like a masculine faced energy. The gates are your crown flame, your divine will, and oversoul embodiment as well, meaning you came here to embody your oversoul. And you are going to be often misunderstood as being too intense or too much. You're going to be designed to walk boldly into systems and carry remembrance. You're going to activate through your voice, your truth and frequency commands. I mean, speaking your truth, you know, being who you are. And you are meant to restore authentic leadership, not domination. Okay, that's what your energy is here to do, is to teach us how to protect without dominating, teach us how to lead without dominating, teach us how to be of service to other people instead of my way or the highway dictatorship type of energy. This one is for Laura. You are welcome. Okay. For Laura, I get the Lyran fragment. Okay. The Lyran fragment means that you have past life pain from the Lyran collapse that is surfacing. It could be royalty. You could have been part of royalty. You could have been part of the wars or Exodus memory, meaning like you have memory from when everything started falling. What you need to understand is you did not fall, you actually survived, which means a lot of people who have souls that came from Lyra, which is a lot of us were star-seeded from Lyra. A lot of people who have souls that came from that initial fall came to redeem themselves in Atlantis. And then when Atlantis fall, they got stuck here, right? So in this lifetime, you're supposed to do something differently, okay? Xena, what I got is the flame of guilt. And this is a service wound, meaning that you have an over responsibility to other people. But it feels like that contract is ready to be released, meaning you are not here to carry them. You are only here to reflect back to people what they cannot see. It's not your job to fix people, save people, heal people. You know, it is not your job to do that. And it feels like you do that because you feel responsible for other people. You feel obligated to other people. However, that's not what your energy came here to do. It's time for you to rewrite that story and start prioritizing yourself and showing up authentically. Okay, this is for CJ. Ooh, that one almost flew out, CJ. Let me see. Okay. The Union Flame line, CJ. The Union Flame line is rose violet, indigo, or white gold. They restore the sacred divine masculine and feminine energy into balance, okay? The gates are going to be soul union, mirror field, and inner marriage, meaning you got to come and your thoughts and your actions must align with what you do in this lifetime. That's how you bring unity back. People who walk this energy walk polarizing paths to unify opposites, which means that you were probably stuck in between races or classes, or meaning like, say you from the hood, but you use somebody else's address and you went to a public white institution. So you didn't really fit into them, but you understand both sides because you live both experiences. Like maybe being biracial, having a white dad and a black mama, whatever the case may be. It's you walk a path of opposites. Okay. They are usually very, very powerful soul mirrors. They draw powerful soul mirrors, which means that you probably learn a lot through the people that you were in community with, lovers, challenges. Also, you might have pulled a lot of teachers as well in life. You trigger awakenings in other people by just being yourself. And there's a path of wholeness through devotion. Okay, this is for Mary. And I'll do about 7 more minutes and then I'll hop off. because I got something to do. Okay. Mary, I got the lunar flame lineages. The lunar flame is silver flame, pale violet flame, or opalescent white. Here to restore the inner temples, the dream fields, and the soul memory. The gates are the third eye, the dream mirror, and womb knowing. People who have this energy do strong dream work. A lot of them are mediums and they're very intuitive. They're emotionally sensitive, so they're kind of like walking antennas. They carry Lumerian, Venetian, and water priestess codes, and sometimes they are hidden until, or their energy hides into we've stabilized enough to be able to receive them. But lunar flames are bringing back the divine feminine template. Okay. All right. Period. You're welcome. I'm glad it was on point, my love. Thank you. I resonate with the card that came before me. Oh, good. Okay, this is for Bernard. Okay, Bernard, I get the new octave. The new octave is that you are no longer who you were, and the world will begin to reflect that back to you. Okay, a new harmonic of light is available to you, so it's really time for you to step into it. Step forward. Don't hold on to the past version of yourself. It's really important that you step into this new version of yourself and you let go of anything that you built that previous identity off of. Okay, yes, Nikki Nix. Let's get you, Nikki Nix. Nikki Nix. The first thing I got, or your card flew out, and it's the amethyst flame. Okay, the amethyst flame is here for flame alchemy. Okay, it's an intuitive pathway, meaning you're going to have very intuitive energy. You're going to be a pattern reader, meaning you probably can read people very, very well. But you're a transmutation guide as well, which means you came here to transmute energies. Okay. You are here to turn poison into medicine. So I'll probably help people see the pleasantry in unpleasant events, help people see the other side of things, help people see the beauty in their experiences, and also spiritual reframing as well. But the shadow side of this energy is that it over identifies with wounding. And it can get stuck in the process. And what that means is you're here to transmute and alchemize trauma, but you could get stuck in the trauma, meaning like you can get stuck in a victim mentality and think that things are happening to you instead of things are happening for you. And it can cause you to get stuck to where you never get to the transmutation part of the journey. So if you are there, what I would suggest is, in order for you to alchemize something, you need a place to put it. You need presence. And what I mean by that is journal. Video record yourself talking about the event, whatever it is, but you need to journal about it. And then you need to have presence, meaning what I do, this is my method. Okay. And it encompasses all of this. Okay. Because presence just means you need to sit present with the emotions. You need to feel the emotions. Right. So this is what I normally do. Say you're trying to fix your inner child. And when you think of your inner child or the version of you that was hurt the most, you think of teenage you, right? So what you want to do is imagine yourself in a safe space, go and talk to that version of yourself, and whatever comes up, let it come up. Like literally sit in the bed next to yourself, talk to yourself, and have that conversation. Then tell your younger self what you needed to hear in that moment. Give yourself love, tell them they can trust you. Your circumstances have changed. Let you drive the car. You come out of the meditation, you journal about it because you need a place to put it, but you also had needed to feel it, right? Which is the visualization. You need a place to put it now, which is journal about it. Journal about your experience, right? Then go back into visualization. And if there was a person who hurt you, like your parent, call them forward and take your power back. I push light from my eyes through their eyes, see the light coming out of their feet back into my feet. And I keep pushing until they disappear, they flake away. Then I see a table full of contracts. I pull a contract and I say, I love you, I forgive you, I release you. There's no point for us to continue to be in community. And I let them go. Okay. So you need a combination between journaling, but also feeling your feelings, which means you got to sit present with your feelings. So going back and nurturing those versions of yourself that was going through that could definitely help. Or when you are feeling some type of way, instead of distracting yourself, sitting with it until it comes up. Okay. All right. I'll get back to you, Zena. Let me do some people who haven't got a card because I'm only going to be on here for 2 more minutes. Can you please do mine? Yes. So this is for soul. I got 2 cards for you. I got the diamond flame, which means that your source light embodied in this reality. You're a purity transmission, frequency purifier, unity anchor. You're holding the pure flame regardless of what distortion pressure is around you. But there's a bit of fragility, meaning not being able to sit present with your emotions. You might experience energy burnout and also divine detachment as well, meaning turning off your heart, turning off your light. And then I get the mirror of misnaming. The mirror of misnaming is that it's telling you that others could not see you clearly. And because others cannot see you clearly, you started to hide because you're being judged or you're being unseen or unheard and things like that. So the message to you is you are not who they told you you were. You are more. So you just have to go where you're received and don't base your worth off of how other people are perceiving you. That's for soul. Oh, good, Bernard. I love that. You're welcome, Nikki Nix. Oh, good. Yeah, that's for you then, girl. Huh? I'm not asking again. Sister, you've just come across it 3 times. I'm good. I don't know what you're talking about, love. What do you mean by that? Oh, you saying the card that I pulled for you came across it 3 times? The first card was the diamond flame. I thought, yeah, it's the diamond flame. The diamond flame is source light in this incarnation, meaning it's a purity transmission. A frequency purifier or unity anchor. Okay, so you hold the pure flame under distortion pressure, but there's the energy of fragility, meaning like not being able to stay present with your emotions, energy burnout, or divine detachment. Okay, this one is for Kaylin from YouTube. Oh, good. So I love that. This is for Kaylin. Hey, Kaylin, girl. So I get for you too the emerald flame, my love. The emerald flame is womb wisdom, meaning there's a tie to the ancestors. There's a tie to the ancestors. People who have womb wisdom gain a lot from instinct, meaning it's in you, it's not on you. Okay. These are our earth stewards. They are temple body anchors. Okay, which means you got to treat your body like a temple. You really do got to, make sure you take care of yourself. And these are root gate holders as well. These are embodied healers who embodied healing through remembrance through touch, meaning that you probably heal with your hands. You probably need to do some working with the earth through your hands as well, because that can help to reconnect you to the earth as well. But when it's out of alignment, it's dissociation from your body, meaning there might be body image issues. There might be a mistreating of your body or neglecting of nourishment. Okay. All right, y'all. So I love y'all deep. This is going to be on YouTube. I'm going to go ahead and go. I will be on live tomorrow. I'm probably about 8 o'clock my time. Yeah, I can do one for you, TBE. But I'll probably be on live 8 o'clock my time, which is like 10 Central, 11 Eastern tomorrow. But I just jump on whenever I'm told to jump on. So just put a reminder for my lives, because I'll be doing I think $11 readings tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken, which is just me reading as a yeah. So this oracle deck, no, because I don't have this oracle deck for sale. This is just something I created to help me with my flame lineage readings. But a lot of this information is encoded into that Oversoul Codex deck that I created, which I'll show y'all in just a second. So let me just give this to TBE. I got the flame of service. You are remembering why you came. The sacred labor of your oversoul is resurfacing. So your work is not small. Whatever it is that you're working on right now, it's not small. It's encoded with restoration. Okay. So let me show y'all real quick, which I think I end up showing y'all this almost every time that I hop on here. But I'll show y'all again because the decks are available right now. If you're interested in the decks, okay, hold on. This is what it looked like. YouTube, can you see? Okay, let me see. All right, so this is my website, y'all. And so when you scroll to the bottom, You scroll past all of this. Oh, hold on, YouTube. I'm trying to get y'all in the game. All right, you scroll past all of this. You go down to where it says tarot descriptions. All my cards are there. So what I like for y'all to do if y'all don't have the deck is just go through here and scroll down and see what card is calling your name. Okay, because this is the deck. These are the cards. Okay, they're gorgeous, by the way, and they look like us. So say for instance, you go down and you click the mirror of shame. Okay, it's gonna tell you what the keywords is. There's a soul wound. There's a soul womb, a visibility trauma, internalized distortion, collapse, memory, emotional healing, vulnerability, rejection wound, sacred visibility, soul reflection, emotional exposure. Right. And so this is what it tells you the upright meaning means. The mirror of shame is a sacred and confrontational card. It arrives when you are ready to meet the parts of yourself you've disowned, judged, or hidden, not because they are unworthy, but because they were once made to feel unworthy. The mirror of shame arises when the flame bearer is being asked to see themselves beyond distortion. This is the womb of having once been told you're too much, you're too bright, you're too powerful, and paying the price for it. This card marks the threshold of healing where the pain of past suppression resurfaces, not to haunt you, but to be met and to be held. Okay. So there's also a lesson down here. The lesson is you were never too much, only too much for the world, still remembering how to see you. What you feel ashamed of is often your greatest gift. And then there's rituals that you can do. These are things that you can do right now to help you to release the shame. And then there's the shadow side of it, which is the opposite. The opposite is telling you this card can mirror the internalized voice of authority figures, community, or lineages wounds, meaning like the people who was judging you. Sometimes you start to internalize that voice, and now you're the person. The call's coming from the inside, right? And so you can search down here for the next part. So let's just say the sovereign wound or sacred collapse. You can search down here for whatever the next card that you pull is, and then you just click on that and it takes you to the next page. Okay. And so these are available on my website, but I also have a deck that you can purchase. Okay. And this takes you to the next card. Now, when it comes to purchasing the deck, you just go to that home page, and I have two options, right? The first option is to purchase it right now. If you're the type of person who need that right now, you can click this. It's going to take you to the page where I buy it from my manufacturer. It's $58.44 with shipping and handling. But the deck itself is only $34. I also have one that says okay with waiting. Once I get enough people, and I'm trying to get at least 30 people, if I can get 30 people, and I think right now I'm at like 10 or something like that, 10, 13, something like that. When I can get 30 people, I can get it for $21, and with shipping, it's only 33 and everything for everybody. Okay, so I'm trying to get it as low as I possibly can, so that people don't have to pay the full price. And so if you're okay with waiting, you can click on that option as well. All right, so the Oracle deck, I am thinking about making the Oracle deck something that you guys can purchase, because I talked about that before on my lives and stuff, is making this an Oracle deck. But I just kind of want to see what the first deck does first. And this is just kind of like my helper cards, like to assign people to flame lineages or see what flame lineages and stuff are coming up as I'm going through the Oversoul Codex. Okay. I'm also restructuring human design so that I can do readings for people. Like if people are trying to figure out what they flame gifts are and stuff like that. I'm restructuring human design so that I can just go in and tell y'all what y'all gifts are, through that lens. So I'm doing a lot of work right now, but it's a lot. I'm not gonna lie. It's a lot of work. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So I got a client in about 2 hours. So not even 2 hours, an hour and 30 minutes. So I love y'all deep, but I got to go. I'll be on here tomorrow night doing some readings. And then I'm on here every Monday doing some sound bowl healing. And then Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm doing readings. Wednesdays, I'm doing this spiritual talk. Remember, over the next couple of weeks, we're not going to be teaching. We're just going to be doing some readings or just chatting about spiritual concepts and topics and things like that. Okay. So I want you to have an amazing rest of your day, and I will see y'all tomorrow. Alrighty. Bye. Bye, YouTube.